Howdy, friends and floorheads. We are playing The Zone again. This is by Raft Amico. It's a storyteller game, very similar to, imagine like the game Fiasco by Morningstar, but twisted and horror and cosmic and all kinds of crazy things. Now, this is the second time I've played this. For my three guests in the cast here, this is the first time they've played it. So we've got Robert, and some of you might recognize Robert from one of our Star Wars streams. We've got Oliver, who has been on the podcast. Actually, all three of you have been on the podcast. And then we've got Dave, who's a local here in North Carolina, who's also been on the podcast and a regular for my Camping for Gamers. We're going to jump right in, but keep in mind in the lower right-hand corner of your screen, anybody can go and play this at any point in time. It is free. And then make sure you subscribe to Tabletop Talk, the podcast, because an episode where I interview the creator, Raph, is going to be out soon. All right, gentlemen, you guys ready?
Sure.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, let's do it. All right, welcome players. The goal of this game is to tell a weird, magical, realist horror story of mutation and self-discovery. A story about people who risk everything for an obsession. A story where only one will make it to the end. The game's going to take 2 to 3 hours. All right, that one we're all good on. Let's go to the briefing. All right. Welcome, volunteers. I know you have been wondering what the Zone really is, and if the rumors are true. As the 14th expedition, you deserve to know what we know. It's not a lot, but it may help you. It all started with the anomalies. Locals calling in to talk show radio or visiting their doctors with stories of unseasonal weather, impossible objects, half sightings of unknown creatures, claimed conversations with long dead loved ones. People disappeared. Medical notes described bodies that started changing. We initiated special containment procedures, performed tests on those who refused to evacuate. Then, as if reacting to our attention, the boundary appeared and isolated everything and everyone within an area of several square miles. We don't know if there are still survivors or if they're still human. Once that moment, not a single expedition was returned. All lose contact minutes after leaving visual range. We're going on fragments, rumors, and occasional anomalies that seep beyond the boundary. We don't know what the Zone wants or if it wants. It seems to be a mirror. It manifests whatever phobias, obsessions, and memories you bring into it. The Zone brings them to life to test you. There are rumors that the Zone can grant your deepest wish if it deems you worthy. Sensor readings show something incredibly powerful at its heart. Perhaps the only escape is the center itself. You are the 14th expedition. You will almost certainly not return. Good hunting. Prepare to die. The Federal Bureau of Coherence, without admitting liability, thanks you for accepting this mission. Let's keep going. All right. Oliver, read number 1 for me.
We're telling a movie. This game is a series of scenes, which we can choose to play in as much or as little detail as we want, describing or acting out what characters are doing. Scenes can be as short as a couple of minutes, but usually are about 5 minutes or so. The game will last about as long as the movie.
Robert, number 2.
We will take turns being the director. There is no GM. We take turns as directors setting up and ending scenes, and all share a few key moments that anyone can trigger at any time to help the story along. No one will be forced to be on the spot for long. We're each in charge of our characters, but share responsibility for everything else.
Dave?
We will play to lose. We are not competing with each other. That's why our fates are secretly decided at the start, so we can focus on creating not so easy situations which characters will always take the bait on and suffer the consequences. You know those moments that have you yelling, "Don't go in there," or "Don't touch that," at your favorite horror movie? That's that. This is the entire game.
All right, so this is the board space. It's a shared space. Unless explicitly stated otherwise, we can all see roughly the same things on our screens. If there's something only you can see, it will say, only you are seeing this. This is the spiral of cards representing the Zone. Each card is a location on the expedition that we'll go through on their... Let's try that again. Each card is a location the expedition will go through on their one-way journey to the center of the zone. The game starts at the zone observation facility, which is right outside the boundary. Once inside, you can't go back. Oliver?
In each location, we will do a few scenes. Expect to do 2 or 3 scenes in each location, fewer as we get closer to the center. 1 turn equals 1 scene.
Keep going.
There are no stats or dice rolls in this game. Whenever a character tries to do something that seems like it would be not so easy for them, anyone can force them to pull a not so easy card. Not so easy cards have bittersweet outcomes that advance the story, like yes, but, and no, and most of them will trigger mutation. Trigger them often.
Robert?
Our fates are predetermined by fate cards. The character on the fate card must die in the scene when it is revealed, unless another player sacrifices their own character. You cannot die before your fate card, so take risks. When your character dies, when your character dies, you keep playing as the zone, setting up scenes as usual, with nothing to distract you from making things weird, magical, and horrible for the survivors.
So for those of you watching, you can see these 4 cards here. Each of those cards has one of our names on it, one of our character names on it. So as we play, only one of us is going to make it to the center and survive. The other 3 of us are going to die. And what's really kind of neat is it's already been set.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
There it is.
Go ahead, Dave.
The game ends at the center. The player who makes it to the center will ask the zone to grant or free them from their obsession. The remaining players play the zone, who judge the survivor and determine their final fate.
All right, a quick level set. The Zone is a horror game, so it's most fun when we push out of our comfort zone. I'm not worried about this with these 4 guys. There are a few tools and principles to help take care of each other. These are for everyone to use. The X card. If something comes up in the story and we'd rather it didn't, we can press the X card button. And we can go ahead and press it now. You can see it up there. And that's going to go ahead and we know how the X card works. Atmospheric silence. There will be times a player will be pondering a question. This is big. There's times when a player is pondering a question and helping them feel so irresistible. We won't give in. Sometimes folks need a little time to think, and the creepiest horrors need their times to gestate. I love that he put that in there. 3, hell yeah or no. We each have ironclad authority over our characters, and when setting scenes up as director, it is still fun to suggest ideas, yes but no pressure. If it's not an obvious hell yeah, no need to push it. The players are more important than the game. Take care of the real humans first. My friends, let's be excellent to each other.
I love
Nice
that he
reference.
included this.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's so good. It helps you like really go in on a story too, just knowing you have safety tools.
Yeah, and what I like is you can tell that Raph took his time. You can tell that he took his time and really spent time figuring out exactly what to say and when to say it. All right, so here we get to level set ourselves. I think I know where everybody's going to go. Who's our 4th one? I'm missing one. Who's not using their mouse?
I'm using mine.
There we go. So I think we're all thinking
Gotcha.
R-rated. Is that about right?
Yeah.
All right.
good.
So for those of you watching this video or watching us live, keep in mind this is not for kids.
It'd be really
You
cool
have
to
been
do
one.
this as like a summer horror flick kind of show too, where it's like PG-13 or anything.
I agree. I think it'd be you could make it even more interesting as a PG-13.
Yeah.
You can do like a Stranger Things type thing.
Yep.
or just like a suspense. Like, I mean, this already like looks like there's so much possibility.
What I'm excited about is when Raph hopefully gets this out in physical form, because I'm excited to play this at an actual table. You could do it with candles and the whole thing. All right, each character will have an obsession, a phobia, and a reason they cannot go back to their old life. All these characters share one thing. They know the zone is almost certainly going to kill them, but believe it's worth it to fulfill their obsession. All right, let's make some characters. All right, so I already know beforehand, we already know who's going to be the chaplain. So let's go ahead and get the chaplain chosen. What are you thinking, Oliver?
Who's it?
Man, I was thinking like maybe a detective character, or I guess I could be a bureaucrat. I could be. Let me think about this for a second.
Come on.
What's everybody else? You're
You're next. Pick one, Oliver.
Okay, all right.
This is
I'll
literally
be
the
a
least important decision of your day.
I'll be the bureaucrat.
All right, pick it. Dave?
I'll go with scientist.
All right, and I'm going to go entrepreneur. All right, so that should bring up your stuff. That's your name. All right, character name.
So are the folks at home seeing your screen, I guess, for this?
They are seeing my screen, correct. All right, my phobia.
Man, phobia is tricky.
All right, I've got mine. So I'll click finish editing. We're waiting for Oliver.
Sorry.
Yeah,
stuck
take
on
your
my
time,
phobia.
guys.
Sorry.
Take your time.
Yeah.
I enjoy the. You have a phobia that you hope the zone won't manifest.
Oh, can I?
It definitely will.
Where do I show
Yeah.
the? Oh, here you go. You're talking about these, Jim, in the chat. You're talking about these suggestions.
Oh, the pick one? Yeah.
Oh, I already picked mine, unfortunately, Jim. I'm sorry. Yeah, I should have done that down, Arian. That's also really nice. So I freeformed this, but I think the first time I played this, I did the pick, and I think that's really really nice because there's no doubt in my mind that the four of us are probably going to type ours in, but it's nice to have that, especially for new people. I'm anxious again to see how this translates to the physical product. All right, good job, Oliver. So Raph is a UI designer, and it is really obvious as you step through this. It's very simple and very easy to get into this game. When we played it on session 1, which you can watch on our YouTube channel, none of us had touched this. None of us had looked at it, and we had a blast. All right, Robert and Dave.
I just clicked finish.
All right, we're just waiting for Dave.
Ben Zuckerberg.
This whole stream is about to get cease.
So funny. I was watching Social Network last night, so it's even funnier.
Yeah, I feel like he's pulling your data.
You ready, Dave?
Yeah.
All right, great. Let's go ahead and start the game. All right, meet your characters. So, Oliver, the next director. Wait a minute. Why is this? Oh, yeah, you're the bureaucrat, Wade. All right, so this is me. I'm Ben Zuckerberg. My obsession is I cannot let an opportunity to be the first get away from me. My phobia is my outside looks matching my inside ugliness. The reason I can't go back and the reason this is a one-way trip, I'm under federal indictment for insider trading.
That's not good.
No. Oliver, you want to tell us about Wade?
Yeah, so my obsession, bring my daughter back to life to give her a chance at a future.
Jesus.
To recover her lost horizon.
Okay.
Phobia, fire. We're just going to keep it really simple.
Yeah.
Cannot go back. Wife killed herself. Might as well see what's actually fucking in here.
All right. Let's hear from the scientist, Gerard.
So my obsession is to prove that there is a connection to energy and consciousness and like gravity and other like forms of energy. So like I want to prove that the zone is just a natural phenomena.
It's like metaphysical.
Yeah, but it's not. It's just science. Relationships. I chose one of the pick ones just to see how it runs out.
Yeah.
You're all fucking dead, and so why do I care about you at all? Why do you care about me? Why do we care about people at all? Because at the end of the day, we're all just atoms bumping into each other.
Nice.
And then can I go back because just straight Dr. Brackenback, that fucking asshole, is never going to make fun of me again in front of my peers.
Okay. And the Reverend Will Cook.
All right. So Reverend Will Cook was a army chaplain, and his obsession. I'm sorry, he's an army chaplain, returned, had a nice congregation, but his own faith started to unravel a bit. There'll be more on that later. So his obsession is to prove science wrong, specifically if only they could see the divine plan as you do. He does not have it, for the way I'll be playing this is more the belief that science has answers, but not all of them. And then his phobia is the wrong plan. There is a plan, but I followed the wrong one.
Nice.
And the reason he cannot go back is he is afraid to return to the silence of his own home due to the death of his wife from opioid addiction. He watched her waste away, and secretly he wants to see her again and believes that he will.
Yeah, and I think what's key here is that we've kept things light. And
Yeah. If you're going into a rated R movie, you all might be, sad anime characters.
So Oliver, you were randomly picked as the first director, although you can claim the scene if you want.
Okay.
It's the start of the expedition. You are all at the zone observation facility. The night before, you have to cross the boundary. This is a scene to practice the flow of the game. So Oliver, I think you can click start us off.
You are the director. Okay, so I guess I'll read this starting section out. So the expedition has arrived at zone observation facility. You decide what form it takes. And the director defines the location. Each location has 3 different variants. Everyone can see this, but only the director gets to pick. Now read them to yourself and choose what feels right. Okay, cool.
So you pick one.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's definitely 2. Okay, so I click this and then read it. It jumps to you guys, I guess.
Yep. So we can. Yeah. All right. So go ahead and read it to us.
Zone observation facility, a hulking steel and concrete complex with many sublevels of containment chambers and accommodation for hundreds of classified personnel.
All right. So Oliver, you're the director. So all 4 of us have GM before. So I'd like you to set the scene and you tell us where we are. You introduce us. This is you're GMing right now.
Yeah, so we cut to a scene and my character's just like lighting a cigarette and like blowing it, and you guys are like ruffling through bags. We're in the middle of a fairly sanitary and like very clinical room. There's like limited bed space, limited bathrooms, all that. It's like we've already slept. We're getting all our shit together. We're on our way, and it's like everyone's just kind of like picking up their luxury thing, right? Like whatever their vice is, I'm ruffling a couple packs of cigarettes in my bag, and just like, and that's where we see us, right? So like we're all like grabbing our vice.
So Ben came in a suit. So I've got my suit on. I'm kind of in there. I kind of checked the 3 of you out. I'm not real interested in having a conversation with any of you. So I take my suit off and, kind of put myself into, kind of cargo pants, probably a long sleeve type t-shirt. And I don't know whether you noticed, but the audience might notice that my cargo pants are probably $300 cargo pants. Probably about $1,200 sneakers that I'm putting on. And my shirt's got a logo that's so expensive, none of you even recognize it. But I'm not interested in talking to any of you.
Okay. And where do we see everybody else?
So Gerhard is like, there's like a beeps and clicks and like other people like carrying around a board with a paper on it, whatever that's clipboard, or like pads, like little little iPads, like running around. He's like trying to like sneak and look at everyone's like data and like what they're carrying around and what they've got, and he's just kind of like snooping, pretty obviously because he's terrible at hiding it.
Yeah, so I'll just jump in here and I just like pull out and blow smoke like at this guy. So like, do you just want to know some shit, or like, do you want to try and assume what all that means? So we cut to my character who just got a hat on, simple, painfully plain face. I mean, just like absolutely forgettable bastard. Scraggly beard, shitty, dirty clothes, and he's just like human, like forgotten background noise, right? And that's my dude, just like sitting there. So like, what the fuck do you want to know, dude? You're making a lot of assumptions, I assume.
Who are you talking to?
Yeah, dude, this guy is like he's going through all this stuff. Like,
Yeah, I'm completely unimportant to me. You're not gathering data. You don't have interesting technology. You're a dude smoking a cigarette. It smells bad. I avoid you.
Interesting. All right, and where we see this last guy, so we see these characters like attacking at each other.
So the Reverend is already wearing tactical, some tactical gear because he was military. He's the only one who was military amongst you all. It does well. He looks comfortable, but not like he enjoys being in the gear, right? That like he is used to it. It fits. He's checking weapons. He's checking his all the gear to make sure that it works, especially like flashlights, survival gear, things like that. But you do all notice that there is a flash of a Reverend's collar on him, and there is the tag on his fatigues that says Reverend Cook. And after that, he does also from the table with the vices, if you will, grab some cigarettes along with a single fifth of alcohol, specifically vodka.
All right, so he's got a spit. Okay, cool. So, and I guess I'll just jump into this part.
Yep. So before you jump in there, Oliver, keep in mind you're the director, so you get to decide how short or long this is going to be. So go ahead and hit that scene prompt.
Okay.
And you get to decide whether we do this or not.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because we kind of just improv that initial part. I'm sorry to jump ahead like that. So, all right, so the scene prompt the night before, everyone shares rumors. Okay, cool. So I guess we can just like, we can adjust it to what we've done, right? Like, so we have this like scene just as we're about to like go out to this shit, right? So like as we're setting this like scene, everyone's like having their like last swallow of liquor or whatever. Someone spits out a rumor. So Craig, why don't you start with us? Like, what is a plant? Describe a plant that's been spotted in the scenario or in the place.
So I'm imagining is I'm pretending I'm definitely paying attention to all three of you, but I'm doing my best to not look like I'm paying attention to the three of you and trying to size you up, categorize you, put you in the buckets that you belong in, and I kind of faced Gerard. I said, you scientist?
The best there is.
So, have you heard anything about the plant life? Any medicinal plants that are in here? Have you heard anything? I heard that there's plants in this place that we don't find on our side.
Yeah, so here's the rumors that I've got. There's a vibrational force that exists inside the zone that seems to be modifying the molecular DNA of these plants, and then it looks like they might have a variety of uses. Among them, they can change the energy pattern of your own atoms.
Okay, all right. It's like medicinal, right? Like pharmaceutical applications.
I mean, no, this is like teleport yourself through like folds of the universe possible because it's changing you,
Right.
changing your signature.
Yeah. The answer is yes.
My fault, man. My
I'm
fault.
sure we can. That can probably be used for
Yeah,
pharmaceutical.
I kind of go back to my bag and I go back to packing my bag.
Okay, so preacher. So what kind of preacher is this guy? Is he like a padre, or is he like a mystic? Is he like a monk? Like what is it? Or is he like an evangelical? Like what was the exact connotation of that again?
He is an evangelical reverend.
Okay, so we're talking about like 10. Do we have like a timeline for this? Like, do we want like a particular like decade or year?
Nope, let's just play, dude.
Okay, cool. Just checking. All right, so yeah, what artifacts we looking at, preacher?
Is this the bureaucrat asking?
Yeah. No, this is just the director asking. This is me being a GM telling you, like, hey, what?
Oh, just the director.
Like you chime in, I guess.
All right. So as far as artifacts, he will think that everything has been rumor. Nothing has come out. And as he overhears this conversation about plant life, he will say, there are all sorts of things that could be discovered in this place. Who knows what sort of swords brought down by God? What tools for us to use could be found, could be changed.
No, this is fucking fantastic.
And he
I just keep packing my bag.
He looks up he looks at the scientist especially. He says, but are God's not most powerful tools the ones that he created in his infinite wisdom?
No.
We
Like
are his best tools.
humans are flies in the fucking ointment. Like, what do you think? What do you think, Mr. Medicine, fancy pants guy? Like, that you think this dude over here? I point at Schmuck McSmuckerson Wade. Like, you think this guy is God's greatest tool? Like, he might be a tool, but he sure ain't the greatest.
He was certainly chosen for a reason. As are we all. We all have a path.
You
Yeah,
maybe I
yeah.
could have
Tools
worked
of
on
the
giving him a
divine.
decent beard.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, and like scientist guy, like, does he make any kind of quip about like what happened in the last expeditions and his shot at the, we're all flies in the ointment. Like, does he make any kind of commentary about what happened to the last people?
Nope.
Okay. All right. So the flies in the ointment is going to be like all we're going to say about the last expeditions. We all know what the fuck this is about. All right. Let's keep moving. So next. Introduce location, decide characters. I think
We've done that. Yep.
Yeah, we naturally went through that.
Perfect. Yeah.
All right. Dave.
All right, so the next director. Become the next director. Move to the boundary. We're about to start crossing the boundary. This will be split into 3 short scenes, one for each of the 3 key moves. Before we start the first scene, we'll do a quick overview of all 3 moves.
And just so for those of you watching, these 3 moves, so simple and so well done. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah.
Move over, take stock. 1. Starting with you, every player adds a sensory detail about the scene. Sight, sound, touch, smell, taste, or how your character feels. You can skip yourself if you don't have anything in mind. 2. When everyone has spoken, return to collaborative storytelling.
Don't need to do the example.
Okay, so continue.
So take stock is at any point any of us can hit take stock, and it's expected that all 4 of us are going to describe aspects of the scene.
Okay, cool. So it's like a paint the picture.
Yeah, as we each add a layer. Something's not right. 1, the person who triggered the move says, something's not right, and what they think might be wrong. 2, another player says, it's worse than that, and describes how. 3, the player who said, something's not right, incorporates the escalation and storytelling continues.
That's so cool. Does it give us like reminder prompts or anything on the...
Now you'll see the interface. It's very clever.
Okay,
Oliver.
Okay, cool. I'm so
it's-
excited about this.
It's very improv-y, so just yes ends. Not so easy. One, when someone describes their character doing something, quote, not so easy, end quote, interrupt by triggering this move. Anyone can say it, you can even call it on yourself. The person trying to do the thing restates what they wanted to happen, then draws a not so easy card to find out if it does. 3. That player then weaves the outcome and its complications, usually mutation, into the story and play continues.
So what's really neat about those 3 moves is they completely fit within the narrative, which is really, really nice. All right, still you, Dave.
All right, so I get to choose one of these guys.
Oh wow! So the boundary. These are all 3 choices we didn't get the first time we played this. This is so
super
sweet.
Cool. Yeah, I watched that whole thing and I was like, "This is the coolest shit."
Okay, I'm gonna go with this guy because we've got a god person with us, and I think that'll prompt
Hell yeah.
good things. The boundary is beautiful. It inspires wonder, a seductive presence drawing you into the zone. I want like little background music every time you say the zone. Yeah, right. Move. Take stock. Use take stock to quickly add delicious sensory details from the collaborative genius of the players. It's about the subjective experience. How does it feel? When to use when setting up a new location or whenever things feel fuzzy. Who can use it? Everyone good with that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. Tutorial cutscene. Do take stock. Starting with you. Every player adds a sensory detail about the scene. Your fingernails, all of our fingernails, feel like they've curled up on like end, but like it feels really good.
That's just so like they're turned up and like tight. That is
Yeah, so like
very
they're like
cool.
it feels super weird. Like your fingernails feel like they're like rolling up like it's like a window shade into your finger, but it doesn't hurt. It actually feels good.
Is anybody else seeing this?
Yeah, just it's best to ignore this shit.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it doesn't
I wonder
hurt.
how it's. Do you feel?
So as we're like walking closer towards this, like the like scrub and boundary around like the ground's all like dried and puckered out, like the bushes and stuff are like withered away in some areas, but like they're all kind of like making formations that are like these, you know, weird angular and like shapes like circles or spheres or things like that. And off in the distance, it's like growing off into like a weird gardeny area. So it's like flowers and other stuff like. So it's like dead here, and then like it's like pulled off to like grow over there.
Nice. Robert?
There is an actual border that is almost bioluminescent and ripples with color. The type of rainbow that gets refracted specifically through mist or dew. Something that is both light and vibrant, but intangible.
Very nice.
So is that in your head? Is that the hard boundary that we've just crossed, or is that like just at the edge of your vision always?
Probably just in front of us.
Okay, so
as
like
we
a
approach
hard
the
barrier.
the
that's
physical
okay.
things that we've experienced.
I wonder if like once
Correct.
we're inside it though, it's like when we're in, the way we know that we're inside the barrier is there's always just this like on the hyper periphery is just like a rainbow cutting into our vision. So it's like that's how you know you're in the zone. It's like that just snaps your periphery and you just can't. It's like light pollution just always in your eyes.
How about you,
Okay.
bureaucrat? What's your scene? Give me an ad.
Oh, he did
Oh,
already.
me? Oh yeah. I was
No,
saying
I'm
the
sorry, you're the
flowers.
bureaucrat.
Yep,
I
we're
wanted
good.
the entrepreneur. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's right. I haven't done it. So I see the bioluminescent. We all see that bioluminescent boundary, and I'm imagining it running along the ground, almost like track lights, like when you're going down on the runway, on the passageway to get on the plane. You know, the tunnel down the plane, and it's got the lights going along either side. I'm imagining that running all along the ground, and it forms with the ground. So even if there's a flower like that Oliver described, it goes up and around the flower.
Super cool.
What we see, though, in front of us beyond the barrier is we don't see anything physical. It's just everything is in kind of a sepia color on the other side of this boundary.
Nice.
Interesting. So it's all color into sepia. Okay, so keep on cruising. Take stock. Use take stock. Cool. We did that. Now, how do we go forward?
I guess end scene, I think.
Yep.
The ball.
Use. Oh, I see, because it's 3 steps.
All right, so
Oh,
now
that's
it's
cool.
my turn.
Weird. Okay.
I think I'm good at the boundaries. So let's go
Yeah.
do another scene at the boundary. All right, we'll try the something's not right. So that's actually kind of fun. So I'll start it. Let me think here. Guys, something's not right. Did anybody else bring their cell phone?
It's worse than that. And I pull out I like flip over my bag and I look at it, and all our food is like, we've already eaten it.
Yeah,
It's
look.
like our batteries are dead and shit. It's like time's already passed.
Well, I was about to
It's
say
like
that.
we've
Look
been here.
look at my phone. It's 2 days from now.
Maybe there is some kind of pharmaceutical in here. We all just took a hell of a trip.
We haven't even gone in yet.
What is it you scientists say? Tom's relative.
Yep. You probably know all about your relatives. So let's go on this rainbow connection. Let's go talk to Kermit. Let's stand here crying about it ain't gonna help nothing.
All right, ready for you, Robert.
All right.
Go ahead and click it.
Yep, we did. All right. So not so easy. There's one final obstacle before making it into the zone. Why is it not so easy?
So what you want to do here, Robert, is either have your character or one of our characters attempt to do something, and then one of us will call not so easy.
Great. Let's have the scientist go. He is. This is everything that has just been pointed out to him is a anomaly in and of itself. Something that probably would be their expertise.
Cool.
So let's see what Gerhard has to do.
I'm gonna let's go, Kermit. We're going on this trail, and I'm gonna walk straight at it, and then it's not so easy as just walking through the barrier.
All right, so as you're walking through the barrier, I'll hit the not so easy card. So what'll happen is when somebody does that, you continue with your narration, but now it's not so easy.
So I'm walking through. I boldly claim, like, why are we standing here, idiots? And I walk straight at the sepia color space with playing with my fingers.
Go ahead and draw your card,
I draw my card. How do I draw a card?
right where the number 1 is.
Oh, I see. Mutation. Some not so easy cards cause your character to mutate, change their body and mind, and losing their humanity piece by piece.
So in this case, you said you were going to walk through the barrier. So yes, you're able to, and
the zone mutates you in a small but noticeable way.
so what happens?
Okay, so then, so as I'm like using my fingers, and they feel like they're that they are like rolling up, that your fingernails are rolling up inside your hand. Immediately, they outside the back of my hand, I do have like new fingernails that just like grow all the way up my hand as I touch the barrier. Like it really looks like it rolled up and then unrolled the other side. So someone like and like just rolled all the way back.
Ben immediately looks at his hand just to make real sure.
It doesn't always happen. I've been told. You might be
Ben's hand is fine.
But how's that
Ben's
not
hand is
hurt?
fine.
Yeah.
Luke's hand is fine?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
All right, so go ahead and resolve it, Dave. All right, then end scene.
Resolved. End scene.
Oh, there's the Nazis, but okay.
All right, Oliver.
All right, the expedition is at the boundary. There have been 3 scenes here.
So go ahead and start turn.
All right, so move to the first location beyond. All right, the zone. You're now in the zone. The next 2 scenes will be about exploring the zone, developing your characters, and most importantly, being very irresponsible. The important part of this. All
So
right.
now this place is, whatever this is called the lab. So we've all crossed over, Oliver. I want you to set the scene and describe it for us. You're the director.
Okay. Yeah, let me figure out which one. Okay, so vats of organic material. Oh, that sounds gross. Instruments, eye exams, child growth charts. No. And all right, so yeah, vats of organic material. We're
Okay,
just doing it.
Yep, go ahead and
Going
select
right
it.
in.
So your responsibility as the director is we were at the boundary.
Okay.
Now you got to get us to the lab. So you're responsible as the director to get us there.
So we step through this area. Mr. Fingernails here has got those running up his hands, and we're going through like field, cutting through wires. The rest of it's fairly like laissez-faire. It's getting prettier the more and more interior we're getting, and like the plants are starting to get like stranger variants of colors. Like we're seeing some things being like fuchsia or like crazy burgundies or maroons or all sorts of like obtuse colors, right? And right in the middle of all this, we just see this like square concrete brick building, and we step towards this. We get into it, and the inside is just like a horror show. It's just vats of like overgrown meat and refuse and like grossness, right? Just clean, pristine outside, and the second we step inside, it's just horror show.
I pull a handkerchief out and I cover my mouth. Jesus Christ.
And it's all like overgrown and starting to like get green, and there's like stuff growing out of it, like flowers and stuff are like pouring out of like what is very clearly like rotting meat. Like it's almost like it's like just living fertilizer, right? And some of it's like moving and not quite, we don't know what this is.
So what, preacher, is this day 3 of your God's Great Week?
I don't know. I didn't bring the watch.
So I mean, organically, here we go. So multiple obsessions threaten to split the party. Whose obsessions are most in conflict? It sounds like the preacher and the atheist. What makes that conflict suddenly 10 times worse? So what makes this 10 times worse? So I think like while you guys are just like arguing over, what is God's stance on all this nonsense in front of us, like one of these organic refuse piles starts like shuddering, and out of it like bursts this like tentacled like bubbling creature, and it just starts shrieking.
So I imagine this creature is like popped out of this bubble and like a baby being born, and it like the tentacles, the pseudopod like slaps like wet meaty sound on the brick and drains out the color, this bright color that had been developing, and leaves that sepia tone that we had found at the base. And I'm gonna be like, yeah, your God fucking made this. Sure. Tell me about your great and wise plans now.
Hey guys, something's not right. Like, I take my my handkerchief off my thing and said, when we walked in here, it smelled rotten and like chemicals. And as soon as that, whatever the fuck that is, popped out, like, do you smell flowers?
Oh, it's worse than that. And I point to your nose, and there's blood running down your nose.
Oh Christ, Jesus. Fuck. All right. Yeah.
I'll rip a piece of cloth from one of the pockets on my vest and hand it to him.
Thanks. Appreciate it, preacher. So I'm gonna kind of fade into the background a little bit, and and you see, and maybe you notice, maybe you don't, but I come out and kind of go to one of the back tables where there's a bunch of those Petri dishes, and I pull out my own Petri dish, and I'm going to start scraping some stuff off and putting it into my Petri dish and cover it.
That's not so easy.
That's
good. I'm just gonna go click that. Yeah, there's like screaming baby tentacle beast, and you're just like being clandestine entrepreneur.
All right, so I'm trying to scrape this like into my Petri dish, and as I scrape it onto like this, I've got, you know, essentially like a pocket knife, like a Swiss Army pocket knife, and I've pulled out the nail file, right, and I'm trying to scrape this purple shit out of the one Petri dish into my little container here, and I scrape it onto the file, and immediately, because my nails are turned up, whatever that is just runs up the file into my like cuticle, like under my nail, and like my nail and my thumb just starts to turn purple, and immediately I take the cloth that you gave me to cover the blood, and I just wrap it around my thumb, and I really hope nobody sees this.
Oh boy.
The preacher is not seeing this, because the preacher, as he sees this tentacled thing with all the green and flowered growth coming out of it, says, "Behold, behemoth, which I made as I made you. He eats grass like an ox," and he picks up a large bushel of fauna and flora, and holds it out to the tentacled creature, trying to observe.
That's not so easy. Yeah,
sure.
Like, are we okay? All right, daisy chains those. All right, no and.
Yep.
Yeah. So I.
It's Robert doing the action. So Robert describes.
Robert gets to
Mutates everyone in the expedition. All right, so the creature will take the offering and absorb it through the tentacles. There is no maw.
What the hell are you doing?
There is no reason to think that it is necessarily harmful. Look, and you see that it starts to absorb, and then more the bushel of flora, and as it does, new growths start to appear, and it gives a shudder and lets out a sound, almost like a whale sound, a whale song, and as it does so, there's a calm that settles upon the room, and then suddenly more tentacles appear out from the creature, writhing and smooth, but also plant-like, like vines, and they attach onto each of our faces.
Yeah,
and as they do so, we feel ecstasy.
So I feel like the visual aspect of this is like, so I think it's like all of us are now like, we've just lost our color, right? Like we're all like sepia toned, like like whatever this like entity is, it's like eating color, and now we're all just like black and white basically.
Go ahead and click the card, Aller.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, so that was a couple of obsessions. So I'm gonna go, because it says there's 3 here, right?
Yep. So you can go to another prompt, or we can keep going. So end scene if you want to keep going.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't 100. So just to confirm, do we all have to get one like bad scene each round? Or,
Nope.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Nope.
right.
Fully flow. We just kind of go with what we're going with,
Okay.
and when we're ready to move, we're ready to move. So Dave is going to be the director. So now he's going to take us.
So
And you can either keep us in the lab, or you can move us to the school.
That's really
So I think we need another in the lab, because right now we have these tentacles stuck
On our
to
faces.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
and you're like
We
coming
don't
in your
even-
pants or whatever the hell you're doing, but you're like in ecstasy. And like
Alright.
we need something to get us between here and
Yeah.
And I think the only thing we're struggling with is we got to make sure we keep the director. So we kind of stepped over Oliver a little bit on that scene because I think we're wicking into it, and that's good. So let's let Dave direct this scene.
Okay, so in this scene, we want to get ourselves from ecstasy, the cutscene, the tentacles lash out to us. You see us all have this ecstatic moment, and we cut to the commercial, and then we come back up. We see a creature creates a terrible moral conundrum, which conveniently has occurred. So I think, so we need to. What choice is presented to the expedition? So I think that moment of ecstasy fades, and we each feel like we see like the four cuts of our characters' faces, and then we all like simultaneously hear the same thing in each of our heads. So we're all like bound together, and we're offered a choice, and the choice is ecstasy forever, or the pain of existence, but it's like but your obsession is there, right? It's like a carrot in front of your face, like you could stay here and be happy, ecstatic forever, or the thing that you want is almost right in front of you, whatever your obsession might be.
So just to clarify, I guess it's basically like, hey, if you want your nirvana, you can have that like right now, or you can keep like toiling, right? Like
Right.
you can keep like struggling for your obsession.
So
Right,
Okay.
exactly.
Ben immediately grabs this vine thing and just rips it off of his face, and the flavor in his mouth, and just kind of spits on this and opens his eyes back up again, and just and tosses it to the side, and you just see him kind of walk away from where the three of you are, just rubbing his face and his eyes.
And then we cut from then we cut to Wade. You're next. How do you?
Yeah, so I think he like cuts to like scenes of like him and his wife and his daughter, and it's just like them just like making breakfast and like just like the normal shit, right, of just like being a family. And he's like, nah, this is gone. And he just like grabs the thing and like cuts it with a knife. And it's not so easy. So I don't know what
You can do it on yourself, man. Go ahead and click it.
All right,
Go
cool.
for it.
Yeah, I'm calling it. Some bad shit's gonna happen, hopefully. No. Yeah. So Wade's mental fortitude. Yes, and the zone mutates you in a helpful way. So he just like immediately resists this, cuts it, and I don't know. I'm kind of lost for that. How to be helpful.
There's a mutation sheet.
Oh, is there? How? Oh,
Yeah,
perfect.
click on 2.
Oh, this is great.
See where it says mutation cheat sheet, number 2.
Yeah.
Click
Okay,
on it.
cool. Yep.
Got it.
And then it's like a bunch of numbers and stuff. Okay. Yeah, I guess like this. Yeah, so we'll just say that like his obsession is like crystallized, right? Like it's he knows that like this is the final like dice toss and like a lot of gambles in his life, and he's just fucking determined, right? So it's just like that moment, like if he's got to saw off the leg to do it, he's gonna get out of the trap. This is it.
Explain to me how that shows on screen. So
You can
Yeah.
click it.
this moment exists.
Okay, yeah. So like, how does this look like in screen? I think like his eyes have their color, right? So everyone else is sepia and like black and white, and his it's like this moment of like crystallized, like sheer force of will, and it's like his eyes are colored again.
So how I'm going to imagine it then, since I've got the kind of control, is you're seeing your
Yeah.
wife and your kid, and you're seeing, you're like, no, this is mine. And like the color of each of their eyes like seeps into yours. So now you have like discolored
that's so
eyes, but
cool.
one is your child's eye and one is your wife's eye, but
Fuck
you
yeah.
have color.
Fuck yeah, sweet. Yeah, cool. We'll do a blue one and a green one because that's easy.
So you resolved.
Yeah, do I just click this, I guess? Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go next because I want the preacher to have the final final scene of the choice. So for the scientist, the ecstasy like is going, but like the sheer sound of it, but in like it's the sound effects for his scene. So it sounds like this like loving, like great, like just like awesome, wonderful sound that just like turns into this evil laughter, like maniacal laughter from this like slightly German tinted sound. And he just is like, and he's just like, you can hear him, you can hear it happening, and you can see it cuts to like a scientist who's unlabeled, standing at a lecture with an entire hall of people, and it just like fades in as this like larger and larger laughter just like seeps in and rips him out of the ecstasy. And then he doesn't even rip off the tentacle. Gerhard doesn't rip off the tentacle. It just like sloughs off in the scene. And then as it sloughs off, the camera angle like is crossed this way on his face, and as the tentacle sloughs off, it like refocuses right past at our chaplain.
Very nice, Dave.
That was cool.
The chaplain really awesome. Is seeing light in darkness, and the music, a choir, trumpets, and feeling what he thinks is the embrace of his God.
I want to something's not right you. As you feel that embrace of God,
So click it.
I'm going to something's not right you. So something's not right. But the sound of what you think is the sound of like your God, you think it's like this crystal clear trumpet of the angels sounding, and the noise just like goes flat. Like it starts off like a trumpet, like a triumphant sound, and just slides into a flat wrongness.
It's worse. It's worse than that.
Yeah.
So what started off as kind of these blues angelic like visages of the choir and everything, and you see the angelic spirits, kind of floating with their instruments. When they finally they're being very coy as they kind of float around, never quite seeing their faces. You see the beautiful hair, you see the flowing robes, and you see the golden instruments. But one at a time, each of these visages turns to the chaplain, and completely featureless. No eyes, no eye sockets, no nose, just absolutely plain, and almost like a skin mirror, the chaplain sees himself in each of their faces.
It's like porcelain flesh.
So Dave, this is you incorporate that into your escalation. That's you to finish.
So as these mirrors of you with this like the sound changing into this like incorrect, skin gratingly wrong sound, and all your faces looking at you, what do they say? What's your voice say to you from them?
It is not for you to decide where your journey ends. The path is still before you, and you must walk it.
And
you must walk.
And we cutscene.
That's sweet.
Very nice. All right, so I am the director now. I'm going to take us to school. So Ben sees each of these things happening, and he's been moving closer to what now we realize is a door on the other side from the door we entered in. And I push the door open. It's one of those like gym doors, it's got the bar that runs horizontally across, and I push it open, and the door flies open, and the light floods in. And I think that as you can see each of the characters as they, kind of blink their eyes and come back to a little bit of reality. And Ben turns in and goes, "We better get going, assholes. We ain't going to make it anywhere." And I just start stalking out, and I'm imagining the three of you eventually file out of your ways through. And we came from the outside into this building, but as I pushed this through, and I mentioned it was kind of like a gymnasium, we're now immediately in a hallway with lockers. along the right-hand side and the left-hand side. It's a long hallway from a high school. Let's see, what am I going to choose here? So we're walking through this, and we walk in, and like everything's identical. The numbers ascend. The even numbers are on the right hand side. The lockers with the even numbers are on the right hand side, and odd numbers on the left hand side. And we keep walking, and I'm imagining Gerard is, you know, tracking the numbers as we go. And Gerard, as we get to the tens, they reset. So it's like 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 11, 12. You know, it repeats and goes until we get to a door. I open the door because of the hallway that we're looking down just seems to continue forever, and open it up, and we see a classroom, and it's a classroom that predates all of us because the desks are styled in a way that none of us went to school. So I want you to imagine like a 1930s type desks with a heavy wooden hinges on each of the desks, and there's a carved area where there's pencils lining up on the desk, and I'm imagining maybe third grade spelling lessons up on the chalkboard as we all walk in.
Does it have that chalkboard smell, or do we still smell flowers? Or
no, it smells like school. So yeah, so you smell the chalk, you smell all of that. All right, so I'm going to bring up the prompt here. Admire in itself does something to help a character succeed. So I walk into this thing, and I mean, it's odd, it's disorienting. You know, I'm kind of walking around like I have been through all of this, and just kind of looking for stuff. I grab a pencil, throw it into my pocket, and stuff like that. And we see the chaplain walk in. We see the bureaucrat walk in. But Gerard, when you walk in, whatever initial questions you had that you wanted from the zone, you see some of it laid out and answered on the chalkboard. So what do you see on the chalkboard?
So on the chalkboard, I see, I think partly from my view, like we see the colors like frame like a picture, like a chart, with an equation written across it, but it's a flowing diagram of like energy, like an energy symbol to a next energy symbol with like a Greek letter, you know, like several termed equation. And what like brings my attention to it is that it's like is bright. Like it stops like that sepia gray chalk tone and is like fluorescent, like you just took LSD, like bright colors. And I'm gonna say that the way that I really knew is that the fingernails on the back of my hand lit up at that same color and then like shone onto this equation to light that color up to draw my attention to it. And so what I see is like each of these different energy signatures has a different color that moves them together.
Dave, I'd like you to start with a take stock.
So I think the room's bright is lit brightly all of a sudden from the rainbow of colors from this equation on the chalkboard.
What does that look like? I guess just like as it's like cast on our skin, is it like as it touches us, is it the rainbow turns like black and white? You know, it just shows to like brightness and it's like just tonality.
I think it depends on the character. I would like you to tell me how the color interacts with you.
Okay. Yeah. So like as it's casting on my guy, it's tonal, you know, adjustments like just black and white for my whole guy, except like just the eyes. As it's casting over the eyes, it's again the whole of the eye is like, even just the white of the eye is like, it's not a normal black and white. It's not that sepia. It's that like, you know, eggshell, right? It's not just black and white. Yeah.
Give us a detail for the room, Oliver.
Yeah, so for the room, I think that like the notebooks all around the room have different like memories from each of us, like written on the pages. So it's like as we're like looking over, it's like a fucking grocery list, right? Where it's like 2 eggs, like I need cinnamon, I need butter, like just written, scribbled out, and it's like in your brother's hand or in like your, and they're all like these moments that are like really obscenely important for each of us individually, and none of us see the same ones. Like all of it are like, oh, see this, like, oh, this is, you know, that kind of thing.
I pick up my notebook and I look at it and I'm seeing the notes that my lawyer had in front of me in my indictment, in my hearing. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I just throw it across the room.
Time's a flat circle, man.
So your take stock, Chaplain.
Around the chalkboard where the equation is written, slow vines begin to frame the chalkboard. They begin to slowly sprout new flowers, bright colors, some colors that we begin to hear, begin to smell. And some of them begin to go through the process of life, birth, and rebirth again as they flower into fruits that fall on the ground. And one rolls directly to Gerhard, the scientist, and hits the toe of his boot. It is bright red, almost in the shape of a pomegranate, but not quite.
Cool.
Might go?
Yeah, go
Where
for
do
it,
you
brother.
want to take us?
All right. I'll do another here in the school. I've got that little prompt. All right. Someone tries to curry favor with another. Who most wants something from another? What will you give for it? Equipment, secrets, powers.
Set the scene, director.
All right. As the notes fly from your hand, Ben, they stop mid-air just for the fraction of a second as they transform into a winged creature, almost like an enormous butterfly, but with the skeletal head of a crow. And it flies and falls, or alights itself onto a desk that is next to Gerhard. And it looks directly at you. What do you want?
Ben walks over to Gerhard and kind of pulls him to the side and goes, "Come here for a second, man. Look, I don't know what the fuck is going on, and I got a sneaking suspicion this is going to get a lot weirder. But I think with your brain and my connections, if the two of us can get out of here, we can make so much money. So, like, if you see something and you think, like, it could be worth something on the other side of this, I need you to grab onto it, all right? Like, and keep me in the loop. Point it out if you need my help, man. But I don't know about these two other jokers, but I think you and I, if we can get out of here, we can make some money."
I mean, what about, Mr. Work for the government over there.
Dude, honestly, man, I've got, there's nothing either of them can give me. So, like, you watch for me, I watch for you. And I'm telling you, man, we get out on the other side, and I've got a way to make what we find in here, combined with your brains, is just mad cash, brother. Mad cash on the other side.
I mean, what does it matter if we're all just slamming around? But tell you what, we'll make you some money, but you're gonna destroy Dr. Asshole for me.
Hey, as long as you and I are in this, we're in this, man. I got it.
So I'm gonna Gerhard reaches across to like seal the deal like with a firm handshake, but something is not so easy with this. So I'm reach across to like seal the deal, and the zone mutates both you and your obstacle, escalating the conflict. So I'm reaching across to say, like, yes, we've got this deal, and
I put my hand out.
And the creepy skeletal butterfly leaps in the air and like snaps your hand. And what does that do to you?
So it went for my hand, but it ended up going for my purple thumb. So it went to my hand, but immediately grabbed onto my purple thumb, and as I go to grab and to crush it, it immediately becomes the paper. So the beast, the skeletal, all of it's gone. It's just I've got like just paper wrapped around my thumb, and I'm like, whoa, jeez. And I pull the paper away, and it's not that I ripped my thumb off. It's that I've never had a thumb. So I look at my hand, and it was like I never had. There's no bone, no scar, nothing. I just have my four fingers.
That's why you shouldn't touch things. Just like want another cigarette.
Hey, we still got a deal, right?
We still got a deal, right?
So the zone, as it affects Gerhard, doesn't affect him physically. Like you see the camera pans out, and you can just like there's like a scene where William Dafoe like does like crazy like flashes back and forth when he shows that he's insane. That happens. Like his face like superimposes like maniacal, crazy-eyed laughter for Gerhard, and like back to his normal face and back to crazy-eyed laughter, and Gerhard just like starts laughing in the most creepy, skin crawly possible way that you can think of, and he just doesn't stop. He just like looks at you, like points at your thumb, and just laughs, and just like walks away, started like flipping desks out of the way. He doesn't say anything, another word to you.
Is that a yes?
Oh God.
Yours to resolve, Dave.
So I'm resolved.
That was good. That was really good.
Just get 4 GMs in a room and see what happens.
Still Roberts.
Yeah, so
You can go for another prompt if you want, man. You can end the scene. What are you feeling?
Yeah, we're gonna go for another prompt if that happens. All right, so the environment itself seems to take sides against the expedition. How does the environment manifest this obstacle? What were you trying to do before you were blocked?
So the desks are flying.
All right. So, as the doctor, the scientist, is cackling and laughing, Wade, you're the first to notice it.
Okay.
The laughing, as it continues, you feel a vibration. And you see the fruit that is at his feet start to wobble. And then you notice the chalk on the lip of the chalkboard,
Okay.
and some books sitting on a desk are all starting to shake.
Time to go, boys.
And then
Time
you
to
feel it
go.
underneath your feet as well.
Let's move. Time to go. Let's go. Like I just start like grabbing you guys and like getting out the room, and I feel like the room's like not letting us like move past a certain point, and like we said that this fruit is like what, like basically like reincarnation fruit. It's like you eat it and you see past lives or something. And I think Wade just like takes a bite out of one. Like he just snaps one up and just is like, "Fuck it, let's go!" And just.
And as soon as you say that, Ben is at the door. Ben is at the door, and I go to open the door. I'm like, guy, something's not right. Like the door, and like as I grab the door, my hand just crashes into another chalkboard.
It's worse than that. The government stooge over there seems to have just bit into that mystery fruit.
Yeah, I think the fruit is probably not so easy.
It will not be. It will not be easy.
Yeah, just cue that one up.
So something's not right. The door's gone, and Ben turns and looks at Wayne, who's as he takes a bite of the fruit, and all of us see it. The door's in his chest. Like we see the exact door that we came in through, that I reached for. It's on his chest. Hey man, I'm not sure what we're supposed to do, but it looks like you're the only way out of here.
Is it like smaller, or is this like Alice in Wonderland rules?
It's
kind
like,
of
yeah, it's like go ahead. It's Robert's scene.
I was gonna say, you're getting taller. You don't realize it. Everybody else seems smaller.
Nice.
Okay. And this is not so easy because.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. So I'm getting larger, but the room's the same size, right? And so all these desks are like starting to get like pushed out of the way as I'm like filling up more and more of the room. And like, I think, I guess my guy's just like a giant now, right? So I have to like get out of this fucking room and figure out how to get out. Like, because you guys got to get out, and then I've got to figure out how to get out.
Guys, I mean, like, not to be like, I don't know, like I'm not making a joke, man. Like he's the only way out right now. Like there's no other doors, man.
1 for 1, master energy. 1 for 1, master energy. Get bigger, there's a door right in your chest.
You resolving that, Oliver?
Yeah, I'm just gonna open it and grab that guy and throw him in.
and as soon as Ben sees you do that, like Ben sees the open door and is right behind the scientist. I jump through it as well. Robert?
All right.
All right, so Ben and the scientist have both gone through the door, and the chaplain looks up at Wade and says, "I do beg your pardon for this. It's a terrible way, but every heart should be an open door." And he walks through, which is not so easy. Yes, but success immediately triggers a much more serious challenge.
gosh.
If it's a creature, it's not their final form.
How many forms do I
All
get?
right,
Because
let's
I feel
do
like I'm the creature in this instance.
This is
all Robert.
Don't you worry. as he as the preacher, as the reverend enters the door, he enters a black void and looks behind him. He can hear the voices of the scientist, the entrepreneur, still the chattering and the laughter and the kind of worried mutterings of Zuckerberg. But he looks back and he can see an enormous form, almost like gold filaments piercing the blackness, the form of Wade, and the door closing. The Reverend calls out, "Mr. Wade, you must come with us. You must look inside yourself. I do not know what will happen, but you must trust in yourself and in the Lord. Please, look within and enter."
Okay, I think,
And then the three of us begin to fall
oh gosh.
and feel a falling and a vertigo from it. And you, Oliver, what are you doing in response?
Yeah, I think we see him like close the door and like sit there for a second and just close his eyes, and he's like, this is just all bullshit. And then he's just like in this scene, right? Like all of a sudden he's just falling.
Nice.
And just like he's just
Excellent.
he's just done enough taps in his life to know that this is all pretend.
As the falling occurs, all of you can see the Reverend in the darkness. His eyes are now alight with a green glow. He no longer has pupils. He just has green light emanating from them.
Very nice.
Green's a beautiful set of nanometer wavelengths.
All right. Yeah, so I think we're gonna move to the campfire. So we have this scene where we're just like falling, and all of a sudden it's just down just shifts, and it's just us walking, and this scene transitions from like sepia into like static into like foreground into all of a sudden just like the flowers and shit again, and it's night, and there's just a campfire sitting in front of us, and we just walk up to it, and all of our gear's there, the stuff's there, it's been set up, like our books are out, like our coffee's set up. I mean, it's like we literally just left this scene and set up exactly how we would have set it up if we'd been here for hours.
Ben walks over to Wayne and kind of just, hey, don't be freaked out, man. I just kind of put my hand on your chest and like kind of pat you a little bit and like, you feel okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
So I walk over to it, and there's a log. I'm imagining there's a log, and I'm going to sit down on it, Oliver, and my bag is there. My messenger bag is there, and I reach into it, and I pull out, and I say to you, I said, hey, man, thanks for kind of like getting us out of. Have you ever had Japanese chocolate?
No, what makes a difference than chocolate?
Dude, trust me. And I toss to you just a package of really, really expensive Japanese chocolate, which, by the way,
Sweet.
I never packed, I never brought, but it was in my bag, and I love it a lot. And I give it as a present all the time because it makes me look good, and I just throw it to you.
Well, I'll think that it makes you look good for what it's worth. Just like start eating the chocolate.
So the campfire scene, each of us are going to kind of go around and in character just kind of talk about our theories. So who wants to go first in character as we're sitting around this campfire?
Oh,
Yes.
you're the director.
Yeah, so I'm the director. So my character like pulls out like a, just like looks over, and there's just like a carton of cigarettes. It just like pulls them out, and I'm like, so you guys all see that none of us packed any of this shit. It's all stuff that we like and look for. I think I think this is us between lives. I think we're on our way to our next one, and this is like our journey down. And then just like light another cigarette.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, this has been crazy, and I may only be able to count to 9 now, but, you know, it hasn't gone that bad. I mean, you know, the doc over there, Brainiac, his fingers are kind of effed up, and I'm missing a finger, and ooh, we got some spooky eyes, but like, shit, I thought it'd be much worse.
This is how I know you failed a lot of businesses. This is not that bad. You're missing half your hand. Like, how many businesses has this guy bankrupt? I mean, there's he just like stops talking. Like the absurdity of it.
I wonder if this is just, you know, or this is just a matter of us. I think we just don't give up, guys. We could be the first ones out of here. Do you realize what that's worth? Do you realize what that means for us if we get out of here?
But it's all the same. We're all the same. This is just a nuclear explosion in your mind. All materials and time and energy is all the same. And this is all this is we're just proving it out, which is cool because you have a chest door and you have no thumb and you have green eyes. And this is all weird, but it's the way the universe works.
All right, maybe not all of us make it out.
This. We'll talk.
Reverend, what do you think?
Then dust will return to the earth as it was, and the spirit will return to God who gave it. This could be a passage between life and death, but I think we are about to get to the heart of the universe.
Yeah.
Well,
All right.
I'm going to bed.
And even rest easy, my son. You've shown your worth to the Lord today. The scientist here, he may not be as steel in his heart as he thought he was in his mind. And you, he looks piercingly at Wade. You have looked within yourself and found the divine. I have high hopes for you. I will pray for all of you tonight. If I ascend to heaven,
All right, cool.
you are there.
You guys can start to hear me snore.
All right, so he's passed out. Crazy doctor's cackling. Priest said his thing. So I think everybody just kind of like
Reverend
goes to
Ben
rest
lights
or
up a
whatever
cigarette
rest looks like.
as well.
Nice.
Yeah. Perfect. All right, cool. So we just cut our scene there.
Oh, that's a good cutscene. Just it ends with like me cackling the sound, your snores, and the two of you just like smoking like the light,
Just
lighting it
the
up
light
against your
going in
face.
and out. Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow, that's sweet.
That's a good scene.
Director Dave.
Good end. All right. Now comes the fun part.
So for just
Moving
real
to
quick, for those of
Bureau.
you that are just joining us, we're playing a game called The Zone. It's a narrative game, very similar to like Morningstar's Fiasco. So no GM. What we're playing is an online version of this game. There should be a physical game soon. But in the bottom right corner, jot down the address and play this with your friends. Go ahead.
So we're moving on to the Bureau.
So what's cool is the first time we played this, these are all new locations, which is really cool.
That's cool.
That's super sweet.
And so right now, Dave is the director. So what he's doing is he's got 3 choices. So he's going to kind of pick what this bureau is. As we've started in the upper right corner, we're kind of going around the spiral. And because Dave is the director, and each of us take turns being the director, Dave is going to pick what this bureau is. And then as the director, like literally like it's a movie, he's going to take us from this campfire to this bureau and describe to us what it is.
All right. So we the last scene faded out with the glow of the firelight and with the in and out lighting of the cigarettes of the two of you together. Cut scene. We open up the next scene next morning with the sun in the sky, although not really the sun, but light in the world. And we're standing in front of a government building, which of course looks like it's a jail because it's all red brick, even bars over the windows, little cracks running along the window sills or the wooden parts around the window, and then we fade in through. The camera swoops through that window past the iron grating and inside where we see what was supposed to be a windowless building. So we swoop in and then we see that there's file cabinets, like those plain not white, but like plain metal file cabinets, with the doors all thrown open, with all the manila folders spread out on the floor, with like cubicle, like those half cubes, so that like in the FBI you can't like cheat and steal as much, like that kind of like low level half sizers. But like you see the four of us kind of spread out walking through with like the sound of our feet shuffling through the paper. You can hear it like ripping against each other, but you can see that it's not just paper. It's like a little bit of burnt edges, like it's a little bit moldy, like it's like stuck together and like had water damage to it. And we cut to the beginning of that where we see someone strays because of an anomaly. So we haven't discussed what an anomaly is. What is an anomaly?
You decide.
So we don't decide. Okay. So I think the scene is going to focus in on our bureaucrat because we're in a bureaucracy location. So we go to you, and there's this. You're shuffling through this dead-end zone, just like a mess.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like a flood came through, and as you're walking through this, you see another, like the chair, like a computer chair, like is sitting at their place, and as it turns around, our octopus pseudoped from the earlier when it popped out of the ooze is sitting there, but in a business tie with his little pod, and he says, "Oh, Wade, nice to see you again."
Cornelius is
I want you to tell me that. I want you to take stock. What does it smell like? Tell me what senses fill you with this.
Yeah, so Cornelius is really fond of lavender soap. I feel like I know this character. So Wade knows this guy, right? This is his man on the inside. This is the guy who runs the internal boxes, right? So all the file cabinets. And so it's just like the tight suit. He's got the like obnoxious keyboard. All the tentacles are popping like like going through stuff. And,
Creature, give me a sense. So you got a lavender smell. You hear the clicking of the keyboard. Give me a scene. Give me a detail of the scene.
I think he's like filling up these folders, mm-hmm. and then just like putting them in cabinets and like putting them away and like looking at them. And as he's like filling or finishing one up, he tosses it to the ground and the paper slides out, and you just see like meth, like addict, sold his shit, dies in 7-Eleven, right? And then another one gets thrown on the ground, and it's just like one of our names, right? And it's just a shit tier life where we just made a fucked up choice and we just fizzled out and burned. And those are the ones that are like the burned up or the mildewy or like the rotted like papers. And they're really pristine lives, right? Like, so we see like Emperor just like slotted in like the file cabinet with the plastic on it, like, and then so what's another scene, I guess.
So what other detail do we have, Craig?
So this Cornelius tentacle bureaucrat, after dropping those folders and you're fixated on him, I think, Wayne, he stands up and he goes, hey bud, this is yours. And he hands you a folder, and you open it up. Wayne opens it up, and it starts off like it looks like a movie script. And the opening scene is enter Wayne crying. Scene, hospital room. Mother on the table. Birth. And Wayne, you start flipping through it, and it's a movie script of your entire goddamn life. Like, you just start throwing papers away, and it's like 3 years old, like a scene at your birthday when you're a 3-year-old, and you flip through it, and it takes you to like the first time you got beat up in middle school.
Fuck yeah. I feel like it's not so easy for Wade to read this.
Well, we got, I was about to say, let's let Robert resolve his, because he's still got
Yep,
we got
so
some
give
more
me a
take
detail,
stocks.
Robert.
Yep.
You smell burning.
Okay.
So you've got a scent of lavender because you smell lavender, but underlying that on the edges is like this acrid burning smell. As you've been thrown, you hear the sound of these papers, both because he's a pseudopod. He has like 1,000 arms. He's throwing these manila folders. So you hear like the sound of like the slide, crash, sling. As you smell the weird mixture of it, and you've been handed your manila folder with this story.
Yep.
Then we're going to go into a not so easy as you are reading through your script.
Yeah. All right, let's see how bad it is. It's a more serious challenge. Okay, so yes, but so I feel like he's looking at his folder, and it's like the back page, right? There's a certain page that we see, like chapter 7, right? And it's like dark and like this awful like cindery color, and all of a sudden, as like we cut to the scene, the director pan cuts, and all of a sudden we see there's this black charred line in the middle of every single one of these fucking pamphlets across all of these countless lives this dude's lived, where his first daughter dies in an awful fire, and it just, no matter how many times he escapes these lives, and it's just, and all of a sudden he's just seeing it, and like all of a sudden he's like, you know, a Persian in the Middle East, right? And it's like a wildfire, right? And then all of a sudden it cuts to like a guy who's a banker, and it just, all of these fucking traumatic situations are.
All right. So then going to a more serious challenge. So now you see this black line telling you the story of how your daughter has died. And then up on the sides of the walls, all of a sudden, like a flickering black and white movie is showing you these scenes. Are showing you each of your daughters, and you know they're your daughters, even though to the viewing audience they aren't the same person. This is not the same human being at all.
Other than everyone's seeing other people, but he just sees like the one he lived with, right? Like it's just her in the same like outfit or whatever. Oh, that's fucking metal.
All right, so you resolve your.
I guess I mutate. So I feel like his, like, as this is like, these are burning up around him. His like hand is just like fucking scarred, right? Like it is just burned up, like, and just withered, and a husk. Like there's like bits that are falling between it that are like just ash and char. And you can still use it. It's still there. It functions, but it's like burned up like a mummy hand.
Does the manila folder, the story, does that light on fire, or does your hand just wilt?
I think the folder bursts into flames, and he just holds it, and he refuses to let the page open, and it just burns his hand up until it's just done, and he just like crumbles it up and like lights a cigarette off his smoldering like husk of a hand. I think we're done here.
Yeah. As we cut to our other horrified faces.
Right, so click the button. And Dave, you're the director.
Okay, so I'm for that scene to end because I want that to be your scene because you're at the bureau, and that's a.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
That's a cut. Cut.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna get us started here as the new director, and I'm dying to see who's gonna die first. So we're moving. We're going to the farm, baby.
I feel it's coming. Oh, another crazy guy.
Okay, so I must die. So
you either accept your fate or one of us can claim it for you.
So I'm willing to accept my fate, but you are.
I have no claim.
Anyone else want to try?
No? I want to see how it goes out.
The crazy one always dies first. This is clearly
yeah,
the next person to get murdered.
We've all been here before.
Yeah.
All right, so claim it.
This. All right, I accept my fate.
right. So I've got to get us from the bureau to the farm. I want to decide what the farm looks like, though.
All right, so it says that I'm the director again
Oh, that's right, because it's your death.
because I'm the death.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So you get to pick. So you're going to take us from
All right.
first, decide what the farm's going to be, and then take us from the bureau to the farm, man.
All right, because we have so much death in our party, I'm going to go with death permeates long rows of industrial feeders, torn conveyor belts, smashed machinery, and fences ripped open by something powerful.
All right. So we're at the bureau.
So we're at the bureau. So we cut last scene with this like hand, like it like zooms into his hand and like goes to black against his hand, his scarred hand till we go to black. So we do that, and then the next we come up is if you could smell the vision, like there's like the burning smell gets worse and permeates as we come back up to scene. Now we have like the smell of death and burning as we are like walking through like the next level down out of the bureau. We walk out into this like charnel farmland with like all the industrial parts that like we used to slaughter animals, that like left like the grates left open to absorb the blood that you can see, like the discoloration from all this over and over and over again. And the smell, it's the smell that like just eats all of us. The machinery is rusted but it is still that beautiful bright color that as an offsetting point. So we're at the farm. A dangerous amount holds away for someone to avoid. Okay.
So just so everybody knows, you can always click your character at the very bottom to review. So if you've forgotten your phobia or something like that, you can always bring it up.
Okay, so I think we're walking along, and the smell happens when Gerhard just nicks his hand along right across his ingrown nails to call that back. So across the still very brightly lit ingrown nails, like nicks his hand on this like rusted out like saw. That was the sawbones used to chop apart a cow. And as he starts to bleed, our bureaucrat octopus, Cornelius, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So Cornelius is walking along with us, and he's like, that's a shame. And so something's not right.
That's by me. So Cornelius goes, that's a shame. And he immediately morphs and turns into not only like a 1920s, just before the Dust Bowl farmer. So he's wearing the overalls, the shirt that's ill-fitting. He's got just the dirt stains all over this denim that runs up his chest, and he's got a bit of a straw hat.
And it's worse than that.
It's got a wide brim on it. Go for it, Oliver.
Yeah, he also has a scythe.
Oh!
Sorry, I had to throw it in there.
So the whole time he's had his hand out, and he's been kind of like scratching his beard and kind of looking at the scientist. And we didn't think about it, and we didn't notice it until we see his right hand come out from behind his back, and he's just got this scythe, this 8 foot long, could not have been hiding behind him the whole time, scythe, and with this huge rusted blade, and he turns to guard and goes, "Hey boy, you don't belong here."
You don't belong here. And then my kind of always background cackling kind of gets a little bit even more frayed out from the like. And the farmer's like, "Atoms and atoms, dust to dust. you never managed to be there. But he says it in the preacher's voice, like
Nice.
that like slow southern drawl. God has found you wanting, and you are nothing but wasted dirt, sky dust, and just like chop right through me, like still cackling, like I'm like whatever, this is ridiculous, like hits. But when he hits me, like right down my chest, like is like it's originally that sepia tone again, so like back to our callback of our sepia tone, and then outside of my chest like opens with like all the bright colors, but like everything you see, like literal atoms, like with the whole like electron flying around it, just kind of like float out like almost like butterflies, and then they like circle around each of your heads and then like land on your shoulder.
So I'm going to take stock. I'll start. So as this comes from him, so as we entered in this, it was all like dead, right? It was rusted. It was old. Everything was broken and destroyed. And, he was this poor farmer that walks up and he just sliced him with this rusted blade. But when he sliced in half and his chest opens and we see the subatomic particles just exit, and they're like the models we had in school, like there's the blue nucleus with the red and the yellow electrons going around, and the only way to describe it is life comes out of him and it spreads like spilled oil over the entire landscape. So what was gray and dust under him becomes grass. And as it spreads and reaches some of like the machine, maybe a haymaker, the rust goes away and you can see the green John Deere return from the painted chips. And it just spreads all around us. And whatever color was leaving us before, everything is Wizard of Oz Technicolor. That's my take stock.
Go ahead.
Go for you. You're up.
In response to seeing this, the Reverend says, to deliver their soul from death and to keep them alive in famine. You start to see plant life actually begin to grow again, starting around the scientist and spreading out slowly. Not just the color, but new forms of life, those same strange flowers and fruits forming rather quickly and going through the entire process of life and rebirth and spreading across the landscape and covering the machinery.
Oliver, do you have something to add to the scene as it unfolds?
Yeah, I think just like we were saying, the harvesters and stuff are just like growing back. I think we cut to the scene like of the barn or whatever the other like local farm infrastructure, and it's like you can start hearing like cows and other stuff, like as opposed to just hearing, and like the smell of rot is starting to like wick away, and instead you're just getting like the earthy smell of like manure and like trodden grass, and like it's like those kinds of like old familiar like smells are coming back into this place. It's like recovering its own past.
Are you to take stock resolved, Greg?
Yeah. That's good enough for me.
Dave, I think you have the last take stock because it's in addition to what you were doing.
So what here's how I think the scene would end interestingly. So not only all this life is returned to everything, Technicolor bright, the smell is fresh, but as the camera pans back off of the party and my dissolved corpse that's now expanded out into everything, we see right past the barn door, we see one of your daughters from the last movie we just saw her dying in. We see her skipping by happily, and we cut scene.
Claim your fate, brother. Claim your fate.
So now I'm with the zone.
That's so cool. All right.
Now, what happens after death? Your character dies. You are now fully playing.
So you fully participate. Your just character's not in the scene, Dave.
Yeah, I just don't say words.
You can initiate everything. You can describe everything. You can even become a director still.
Cool.
That's cool. This game's really cool. He did an amazing job programming this too.
Yeah, it's slick as shit.
Yeah.
Robert.
All right, Robert, you're up.
All right, here we go.
This is fun. This is cool.
All right, so do we stay in the farm? Ooh, the suburbs. Nice. I love that the fake cards hide the next thing, too.
Yeah.
What you feeling,
Let's
brother?
move to the suburbs. Let's move to the
Who's dead?
suburbs.
Who's getting
All right,
dead
so
with
you're going
me?
to take us to the suburbs. Oh.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Okay, sweet. All
So,
right,
Wade, you're going to...
All
Do you want to accept your fate and become the director, or...
Yeah, so I mean, if someone wants to throw their life before mine, I'll give them a shot, you know?
It's all you, man.
Yeah. All right, cool.
So-
Destiny.
So you'll accept your fate?
Yeah.
All right. And now
100%.
pick one of the 3 scenes for the suburbs and take us from the farm to the suburbs. But first pick what you want the suburbs to be.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so... No, definitely not that. Okay, cool. So low-key suburb, cul-de-sacs, plastic, but just the classic like Americana suburb, right? Like you've got just like a place people live in. Like neighbors actually know each other, and it's like the people just aren't there, right? It's like someone snapped their fingers and the scene ended in the middle of it, like swings still moving, like all that kind of stuff. And yeah, so let's get a scene prompt. Okay.
So, Oliver, the suburbs, can you give me a sense of, like, is it 1950s suburbs?
Yeah, so
2010 suburbs?
Yeah, okay, cool, yeah. So I think, like, probably, like, 2010 suburbs. Thanks, Greg. And I feel like we had, like, the last scene where, like, we're moving on, and then it's just, we'd all kind of made the decision to move forward, and then it's just us walking again, right? So it's like we're just coming to consciousness again, and like in the middle of this place. So again, just time skip, and we're very aware that like this skip has happened, and we just have Cornelius here again with us, and he's in like a different position, right? He's like in the scene, like as a guy filling up gas, or like he's in another scene where he's like a housewife, and it's just in the costume of that person, but just the absurdity of like this tentacled creature.
Watering the yard,
Yeah.
grilling in the front.
Kids
And
playing ball.
and as we're like moving forward through this scene, I think Wade is seeing like more red triangles, and they're on stop signs, or on buildings, or like all over the place, and he's just like slowly getting more and more tense. Like you guys see him, like we cut to a scene where he's like racking around in his gun, like just kind of moving closer and closer to this scene, and he knows it's coming. He just knows this is not the time he like rolled the dice and got it, and he just draws his gun and just shoots Cornelius in the back of the head, and just immediately he dies. Like just head explodes, like just immediately. See, like just
Not so easy.
on.
You draw the
Yeah,
gun,
yeah.
you fire the gun. It's
Okay.
not so easy.
All right.
So that's on you, brother. You click it.
Oh man.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
I can't.
You do not shoot Cornelius.
All right. So he draws the gun. He like raises up, and just as he's about to pull, I feel like it just like everything stops. Let's see. It triggers. In a way that triggers someone else's obsession. Okay. What obsessions do we have less? Craig, what was your obsession again?
Well, I think you should just call. Yeah, I think you should just nail somebody. So just say who it is, and then we each know our
Oh
obsessions.
yeah. All right. Craig, it's you. Congratulations, Craig. You're now.
All right, so you draw the gun, you shoot Cornelius, and oh jeez, so you shoot him, and the bullet goes right through what would be his head, right? So except it's like this tentacle shit, and it goes through the head, and I'm standing there, and I see this all happen, and immediately I just start. I run over and I grab one of the recycling bins that are out on the curb,
Okay.
And I drag it over and I start picking up Cornelius and I start pieces of Cornelius and I'm putting him into the recycling bin. And I'm like, guys, we can't just leave this stuff here. Like, we have to take this stuff. Like this stuff doesn't exist anywhere else. We have to have this. And I'm just picking up pieces of Cornelius. And as I'm picking up pieces of Cornelius, every time I pick it up and it's outside of my line of view, the piece I just threw inside forms again behind me. So this is obviously an endless task.
Okay. Yeah, this is a fan.
And I'm just gathering into this blue recycling bin.
Okay. So just to get this scene, then the correction was like he draws the gun, he shoots him. So Cornelius like falls over dead. That had to happen. And now like any deviation from like that scene frame basically just resets the scene. Okay. And so it mutates my guy. So I guess as you just keep like putting him back like to this like and actually like sticking more and more parts and stuff, I think as you go to reach for pieces of him, like pieces of my dude are just like on the ground instead.
Oh, fuck, that's cool.
So like it's just like you reach for the hand and put it in, and all of a sudden it's just like the withered hands. And like my guy looks down and it's like the tentacle.
Oh right? Yes, you're getting replaced.
And then it's just like that, and it just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going
amazing.
Until finally just like my dude's just like a fucking pile of parts, and it's just very much not alive anymore. And Cornelius is like just very much back, and he's like, that's not how. That's not that easy.
And I'm not. I don't notice now because I'm getting to the like it's coming to the brim on the recycling bin, and like it's weighed pieces of weight.
Yeah. And it's just like the human refuse is now in the trash can, right? Like it's just
as the Reverend observes these two, he's almost he's sitting actually in a lawn chair. Watching intently with his burning green eyes, and just starts to say over and over and over again, all day long he craves more, but the righteous give without sparing. All day long he craves for more, but the righteous give without sparing.
All right.
Amen, brother. And I slammed. I finally realized I picked up everything, and I just slammed the cover down on my recycling bin, and I start walking down the street dragging it.
So,
so gross.
I think. So I have a question. I'm sorry, go ahead.
He blissfully follows you as you're walking away. He lights another cigarette and just is like loving every moment of watching you unravel.
So Ben,
and be your true self.
Is your outward appearance morphing as you are doing this cleanup, or do you just look like Ben still?
I think I still look like Ben.
Maybe there's like something that's like really minor, right? Like we can deviate just a little bit. Like maybe it's like an off tone of sepia now.
I got it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm dragging this thing, right? I'm dragging this blue recycling bin, and the chaplain comes up behind me, and like all of a sudden the bin slides out of my hand and falls to the ground, and pieces of Wade spill out, and I'm like, oh shit. So I throw them back into the bin, and I close the bin back up, and I tip it back up again so it's upright again, and I grab it and I start pulling it again, and it slips out of my hand again and spills out, and I look at my hands, and they're just covered in black grease. Just greasy hands, and like my arm, it's just grease covering my hands, and I go to like I can't even pick stuff up now, so I'm trying to pick up the Wade's head, and it squeezes out of me like trying to grab a water balloon, right? It just squeezes out of my hand, and I go to grab like his forearm, and it just pinches out of my hand, and I'm like, I can't grab anything. I don't. All right, you and me, Reverend. Let's go.
So can I make a recommendation?
Please.
So all this body parts, all this Wade is all like sliding out, and so I think a fun way to end the scene would be all of his dead daughters that we saw like showing up at the end
Jesus
on the
Christ.
side of the wall, walk
Uh-huh.
over, pick up the pieces that you can't touch, and put them in the bin. And like, so they do it very happily. Like they're
Dude,
like
what if
singing a little
it's-
song together.
What if
Like
it's
they're-
like we can get creepier? What if it's like little flower like baskets, and they're like putting like the hand in one that's like covered in the flowers,
Yeah.
and it's like this like reverent like burial, but it's like really obscene, right? Like, cause it's like we have the entire the contradiction between like the really beautiful thing and the like really obscene like body, and that's it. That's this dude.
I see Reverend Cook like turn around to watch this happening, and I just immediately grab your arm, Reverend, and I turn you back facing forward. I'm like, we just got to keep going, Reverend. Just look forward.
I have no greater joy than to hear that my children are walking in truth. And he continues walking, leading the way now.
Fucking creepy ass.
Who's gonna win?
That's great. That is wonderful.
We've all won. Let's be real.
All right.
Do I click? Is this someone else?
Go ahead. You just go ahead and hit start turn,
Actually,
Oliver, and then
Okay,
you get to
I'll
decide
start.
if you want to do another scene in the
I think
suburbs.
that's it. I think
All right,
we,
let's
yeah, I
move
think
to
we
the
moved
forest.
Yeah, let's move in.
Oh no!
Naturally.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Well, the creepy
no,
creature
no,
has
no.
to be the one that lives.
It's
This
not
is
the
with a
creepy
final
creature.
quote.
Yeah, it's the Lord's
All right,
will.
we're going to the forest. Let me decide what the forest is going to be.
God, I hope the last one's a church.
Yeah.
I hope.
You better have a good Bible phrase for us, Robert, to end this like with a closing scene. Whatever the last phrase is you got, you gotta be a banger.
So we see the Reverend. And
Ask and you shall receive.
we see the Reverend and Ben walking, and the whole time Ben is just looking at his hands, and just the grease is dripping off of his hands, and you see him kind of like try to wipe the grease away to see his flesh, but there's no flesh under it. It's just more grease. And now you can kind of see his fingers, like his pinky finger, like melts off, and he just realizes what's happening as he's walking. And you see the Reverend, and it's indistinct. Like the audience can't tell what the Reverend's saying, but they can tell by his cadence that he's quoting verse, and they continue to walk forward, and you can just tell that Ben can. All Ben is hearing is like the Peanuts teacher sound coming out of the Reverend, and they walk to, and there's a playground, a school playground, but without the school, kind of a suburb communal area with a gazebo, and they walk through the playground, and there's a small forest behind, and the two of them walk into the forest, and what looks like it should be just this tiny patch of forest that they walk into in the middle of this McMansion suburb suddenly becomes a Merwood forest. And it smells like one, it looks like one, it feels like one. There's thick undergrowth all over, and the roots, we're walking on as much as roots as we are dirt. And there's fungus that grows on the ground and on the trees themselves. And it gets real dark, Reverend. And as we walk, we can see lights. We can see eyes coming through.
Is the color the sepia color, or is it the bright color?
Everything
or
is
it normal green?
lush and green right now.
The Reverend's going to take your hands that you keep fixating upon, and he's going to stop you for a moment, and he will look directly at you, kind of pulling at your hands. And when he pulls, more slide off, and he says, "Do not worry about this vessel. Let your eyes look straight ahead. Fix your gaze directly before you." Proverbs 4:25. And he points to a light in the forest.
So Ben looks at the light. He starts walking towards it. And he sees his big brother. He hasn't seen in a really, really long time. And Hey, Corey. Man, it's been a bit. You're not still mad, are you? I mean, it was kind of like our idea, right? And weren't doing nothing with it, and I just kind of, I'm the one that did something with it. Like the idea doesn't mean anything. Like we can all have ideas. Everybody has ideas over beers, and so like I know you weren't gonna do nothing with it, right? And it's not my fault that you just wanted to sit on your ass all day. I'm the one that had the initiative. So, I mean, are you still mad about it? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I turned to Reverend. I'm not a bad man. You understand that, Reverend? Like, I've done good things. I've given to charity. I've given good things to lots of people. Do you understand that?
The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and knowledge of the Holy One
Yeah, but man,
is understanding.
like, if this ends, man, where am I going? Like, talk to me. Don't quote me nothing.
I know not, son, where we go.
And I turn back, and my brother just goes away in kind of that same cinder that we saw way back when on the folders, that we saw take Wade. I think we need another prompt here for my death. Reverend, you found a way to accomplish your obsession, and that ends with me dying. So I am handing, you're assistant director. So I'm standing there, and I'm overwhelmed. I'm looking to you for reassurance, and I'm looking back and just seeing the ashes of my brother who I fucked hard in life, and I'm just standing there.
Who was the man? Who was that?
He's my brother.
Before you just now.
He was my brother, man. He was my older brother, and and we were close for a long time, and he's a clever guy, and and he's on hard times. It's because he couldn't recognize what was possible. Who initiated that?
Yeah, so something's not right. As he's like telling all this, like it wasn't, he was lazy and like trying to say all this shitty stuff about his brother. I feel like the ashes are like coalescing behind him and like reforming the figure like of the brother who's like not quite done with the conversation.
It's worse than that, because Cornelius is now standing right next to his brother with a judge wig on in front with his like table, and your brother is like a lawyer sitting there completely correct, and you suddenly have your suit on, and the preacher is sitting right next to you, and you know that he's your defense lawyer.
So you finish it. It's your something's not right, Oliver.
Yeah. So yeah, and all of a sudden the gavel just like bangs. And we just have this like scene where he's like, so are you truly innocent of your brother? Like, are you innocent of his death? Do you say this before the council and all creation that you did not cause his death for your own greed?
I turned to the chaplain. I turned to the chaplain and go, he shot himself, man. I'm innocent.
Son, do you believe that in your heart? Let me tell you a story. There was a woman once. She died of an overdose. Society said it was her fault. Nothing they could do. She was sick, no matter what they tried. Even her husband tried to say he did everything he could. But I can tell you I did not. And I have confessed for that sin time and time again. It is why I'm here, to make things right. Confess in your heart. Look at him.
Reverend,
he turns you and...
I'm paying you good money. You're my lawyer. You're supposed to defend me. Do your job.
My job is not to stand before the Lord for you. You must speak your peace
So
or lose it forever.
I kind of walk away as the Reverend's talking, and I turn to Cornelius, who's got his judge thing, and I said, "Nobody's here is innocent, so I don't understand where this forest courthouse comes from, and who are you, like judging me? And you know what? He was an asshole his whole life. He was never good to me as a kid, and he's a lazy son of a bitch, and this guy just find out he kills his wife, right? Like he doesn't take care of her, he lets her die because she's a pill popper, and everybody's here judging me. You know what? Fuck all y'all. Screw all you all. Oliver, I want you to be Cornelius.
Yeah, so we just see like the hat and the like wig uniform like disappear, and it's just he steps behind one of these like mandrake like trees or whatever, and he comes behind the other side, and as he transitions, he's got the giant executioner's like black like and the tentacles are like coming out the bottom like just barely like about, and he's just, that was the wrong choice, brother. and you just explode. You just explode. Just like all this setup, he's holding the axe, it's shining, we zoom in on it, and just in the reflection of the axe, we just see you splatter. And it's just
ashes to ashes. Dust
it's like burning
dust.
as they hit the ground, like the chunks like searing up and turning into ash and fizzing away. Get fucked.
All right, so Dave, start turn.
All right.
This part's so cool.
No, we're just going to move.
Yeah,
Clearly that was the end.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, so the chaplain has made the center. This is the final stretch of the game. We will define the center, the chaplain's final wish, and everyone else will decide what the zone does with that wish using their not-so-easy cards.
So real quick, so every time we played a not-so-easy card, every time a not-so-easy card was played against us, if you imagine those as physical cards, there's going to be prompts that came with each of those cards that we're going to use to F with the Reverend. And this is so cool. This is the best part of the game. All right, Robert.
All right, so I think you've got to start it off there.
No pressure. All right, enter the center.
That's cool. It's a cool interface.
All right.
That is really cool, yeah.
That is really cool. All right. The center, part 1. The lone survivor have made it to the legendary center of the zone. First, define the center together. Is it staggering beauty, incomprehensible horror, alien strangeness, or something else? I am going to let Craig start us out on this one since he's the most recently departed.
So I'm imagining, Reverend, that like very quickly as I explode, I'm imagining like pieces of me and then pieces of me as flesh, oil, and blood just splatters on you. And as you kind of wipe it away from your face, the forest is gone. I'm gone. There's no Cornelius. There's no courtroom. There's no Merwood. And all there is a white marble floor. And walls along the side that you just know are museum walls on the left and to the right of you, and each one there's an alcove, and each alcove has a marble statue that matches the floor, and each of those marble statues represent the zone. So you see the reaction of Gerhard as his nails. You can see Gerhard standing there looking at his hand with the nails. And as you keep walking, you can see me when it was like as my thumb turns purple, and it's the only part of the statue that is actually purple as it goes. So the tale of what we've gone through is in this kind of museum as you're walking down there. How's that?
That works. He will walk, hearing for the first time in a while the actual sound of his shoes clattering on the marble. There is nothing but silence except for the sound of his shoes, and he is in awe of the size and scale, but also the seeming endlessness of this hall. Dave, what else?
So I think it's got a bright light, like a vibrant, like no more weird colors, no like sepia to bright gem tones, like or kaleidoscope colors. It's like a clean white light, like you would imagine, like coming up to the pearly gates. That just like it's a warm light. It's not a cold light. It's like it makes you feel home and comfortable. And it makes the marble not harsh somehow. Like it's
Nice.
It's lit in such a way that like the marble could be cold and intimidating and but it's not that way. It makes it all just like it's soft. It's
Oh, I love
welcoming.
Oliver, bring us home.
Yeah, so I think we're seeing, like, as we're cutting through, like, all these statues, we're seeing, like, these moments of, like, our deaths, like, but cast from, like, kind of, like, a different perspective. So it's, like, you know, we see the way, like, my character died, right? And then we see a different alternate take where, like, it, you know, and as you're looking, it's, like, these fields of, like, different endings for each of us. As you're like kind of each of these alcoves, right? Is like, oh, this is like the museum of like alternate ways, right? Or there's the museum of like the alternate scientists, right?
Infinite possibilities, almost.
Right.
All right, meet the center,
Right,
Robert.
I'm gonna meet the center. All right, center part 2. Describe the final survivor's encounter with the center you just created. How does the zone make clear it's time for the wish? Before triggering the wish, do a short flashback about your obsession, which was prove science wrong. If only they could see the divine plan as you do.
What's the flashback, Robert?
Okay. Flashback is this. The Reverend, as a child, is at a funeral for both his parents and his sister who died in a car accident. He was the only survivor. He gets taken in by his uncle, an avowed atheist, a scientist. And the day you see the funeral, it's raining outside. Everybody wearing black umbrellas. The scene shifts to the boy feeling lost, alone, keeping to himself at the wake. Barely eating, gets overwhelmed, hears something outside, goes out onto the porch of his home, his uncle's home, his new home. And on the porch, he sees a cat. The cat is taking shelter from the rain, and he kneels down to pet the cat. His uncle steps out, sits down, Lights up a cigarette. Careful, son. Thing could have fleas. I don't know, Uncle. I kind of like it. Not the fleas, but he's being kind. Maybe, I don't know, maybe God sent him to make me know everything's gonna be okay. His uncle grunts. Not likely. Cat hangs around this neighborhood quite a bit. Always looking for scraps and the like. They're quiet for a few moments. And a young William looks up at his uncle after petting the cat. Says, You think I'll see them again? See who? Mom, Dad, Jenny? They're dead. How would you see them again? In heaven. Son, there is no heaven. Make the most of it while you're here.
Holy shit, Robert, that's really fucking good.
And he flicks the cigarette out into the yard, walks back inside, and a now devastated Will begins to continue petting the cat as he begins to cry.
Okay, so I'm going to throw something here, Robert, and you nix it, right, if you hate it. So we see that flashback, right? And then as the flashback, we have kind of like the George Lucas, optic close, right, from the outside. And what it's replaced by is the hall as we're walking. But what's at the center of that is little Will and the cat walking now.
Perfect. Fucking love it.
All right, let's do the wish.
All right, so I have to type is this. You guys will then see it. Is that how this works?
Uh-huh.
I guess.
All right.
This is my first time through this. I don't know. Or maybe.
All right.
And that's wife, sister, mom, dad, everybody.
Yep.
Nice. Ooh.
All right. So I type it.
Yep, you type it.
Hit enter.
And we watched as you typed it, so we can
Okay,
all
great,
see it. So you
great,
can just
great, great.
advance.
Great. Where is the actual advance? Ah, there we go. He will look at the child, and when he does, he realizes that his motions are being mimicked, almost mirrored by the child. And he looks down at the cat and speaks directly to the cat. And he says, Mr. Bubbles, I wish to see everyone again. My family, my wife, Jenny, Mom, Pa, you, everybody. I just want peace with y'all. That's all I want.
Oh man, okay, Oliver, you got the most not so easy cards alive. You choose the zone's final judgment on the wish. Alright, you'll influence.
So you got the most not so easy. So you're gonna be final judge on whether the Reverend gets his wish or not, and Dave and I get to influence. So you need to start the judgment.
All right.
It's fucking great.
All right, we're still feeling it. And
All right, so I'm gonna choose. So Dave, you get to choose a card, and I'm choosing a card.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure if this is.
All right, so Dave, down at the
Okay.
bottom, you get to choose.
Are they all? It's all those same
All
cards.
right, so yeah, by randomly you got all the same. So just pick one.
Oh.
It's not letting me grab.
It should just allow you just to you should be able to click one of the cards along the bottom. Oh, next suggestion, Dave. I got to give it to you. I'm sorry. Now you get to.
Okay.
So you should get 3 choices.
I do. Now I see what it is.
And those are
Understood
each.
now.
So each of those were one of the not so easy cards you played.
Oh, that's so cool. Okay, and then I pick which of these two I want to go with. So yes, but
and
or
you've got
no.
you've got a bunch of not so easies too, right?
Oh, okay, yeah. I can't look at them though until
Yeah. So
somebody.
so Dave is done. Dave has picked. I have picked. Who has a prompt at the bottom? I don't.
It says Dave.
Okay,
still.
so Dave described. So I think you were supposed to. So Craig, no but. So you.
Oh,
have
I'm
the
sorry.
wish.
Yeah. So I'll do my no but, right? So so adult Will says this to Bubbles, and Cat looks up and just kind of puzzled at you. And I'm not sure old Will sees this, but the camera does. There's a flea that jumps off of Bubbles and lands on little Will, and it bites little Will in the forearm. It goes, damn it, Bubbles, man, we gotta get you a bath. Yeah, look, old man, I think you were supposed to see everybody again. I think you were supposed to, but you didn't take care of it. You didn't take care. You lost your old family, but you didn't take care of your new family, and that's what everybody was waiting for. They were waiting for you to take care of it, but I think you tried. And that's where I'm going to hand to you, Dave.
So I'm gonna go change my slide then, and then like off of the cat like leap all of the like a bunch of fleas, and you can see that they like size up very quickly. And so next to young Will there is your mom, your Diddy, and your cousins, and the whole of everyone you see, and they keep like lining up and up and up and up and up, and you're like, well, you see us, but peace is something entirely different. And so they look like your family, and then they morph into the you angels that you saw at the very beginning of the
mirror faces. All right, so now what happens? Can we hand it to Oliver?
Yeah, I think you gotta click something, Dave.
Oliver.
There you go.
Oh, there we go. All right. So does the chaplain get their wish? So we're gonna go with yes, but so as like all these like hands are reaching for you, and they just like grab you, they like pull you up and like turn you to look into these mirrors of the faces, and you just see your own face, and it just snaps back to you as the kid, and it was the uncle, right? He's like dragging his cigarette, and he's like, yeah, you just make the most of what you got. And he flicks his cigarette, and it's just, his life's like restarting right there. And it's just, the cigarette's like flicking off into the dark. And it's like, you got another shot, like, good luck.
That's
But
awesome.
You have no fucking clue. So you're just gonna fuck this up again, probably.
Oh,
But
that's
good
fantastic.
luck.
Very
He
nice.
goes back inside.
He goes
Yeah.
back to young Will. That's phenomenal.
And just no clue. Just doesn't even know any of this shit happened. Just none of it. Just restart the cycle.
Oh, that's great. That's great. All right, so
Beautiful.
that we ended yet another game of the zone. For those of you watching in the chat, pipe in if you've got questions. I'm going to start the questioning though. Wow, dude, Robert, you quote unquote won.
Yeah.
First time you ever played the zone. I guess my first question is, would you play it again?
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
have you played
Absolutely.
have you played a GM-less story game before?
Yeah, I've played Fiasco before.
And how does this compare to Fiasco for you?
Infinitely better. And it's maybe more of just a genre thing, right? Like Fiasco's fun and funny, but this went some places that a game like Fiasco does not.
Yeah.
And I'm a big, beyond just stuff like Vandermeer and Tarkovsky and I'm a big fan of Twin Peaks and Lynch and stuff very Lynchian, very quick.
So for me, I'm going to say a couple things. One, because I'm a huge Morningstar fan, right? So I need to say that from the very beginning. And I am like you, Robert. I like this better than Fiasco, but we first have to acknowledge that this doesn't exist without Fiasco. Right.
100%.
Yeah. So without Morningstar's work, this game does not exist. Right.
So you're saying it's a yes and of
right.
Fiasco.
But that said, what Raph has done, and I think for me, and I get this impression from you, Robert, it's a genre thing. Like this genre fits me better than than what happens in Fiasco. Mm-hmm. And granted, I haven't played all of the extra scenarios you can buy with Fiasco, so there might be a version of Fiasco that I haven't played that fits me. But this gels with me. And what was amazing for me is the person who's done this twice now is we came to a profound ending the first session that we played, but it started off as this amoeba. And it was just us throwing stuff out, and each of us would grab something in this first session, and then it formed into what was really a powerful moment at the end on this first session. So I'm playing this the second time, and I was concerned I would purposely try to push us there, and I didn't. I didn't even have an opportunity to, which was really nice. And I wasn't sure where we if we would, and we ended up again at a really profound moment that all four of us contributed to. An end of, it was a cinematic end of a powerful movie, and that's fucking cool. That's fucking cool. How about for you, Dave?
Yeah, it was super hella fun. It's the kind of we've talked about it before, but if I'm playing make believe, I want to play make believe and have a story. I don't really care about rules. The desire to make a character with twinked out it's just not how I exist with RPGs. Yep. And so this is really fun because it hits right at the heart of what I want. It was super fun, and I think I thought we did a good job passing the football.
I did
which
too.
I feel like you could have failed at, depending on if someone doesn't yes and right if they don't do the improv keep moving the ball forward. It was super fun to us cheesing if you go back watch this for 3 hours, I'll be chasing for 3 hours.
Yeah, and it I caught myself, and I felt like I caught you guys too, but if you didn't correct me, I caught us catching ourselves and saying, wait a minute, I'm not the director, and I think we kind of learned that as we went. We fumbled with it at first. Oliver, so we got a question from the chat from Endigan. It's a good one. I want to throw it at you, but all of us can answer, but I want to hear your answers first. It's a really good question. He goes, would this game work if your crew doesn't know each other or have some bond already, right? And I think we've got a mix of that here, right? So obviously I have a friendship with all three of you, and the three of you know each other tangentially, but this is the most the three of you have interacted with each other. 100%. Could you see folks making it a personal or self-focused or what do you think? How would it change, Oliver? Let me phrase it this way, Oliver. If you were playing with just your Eastern Virginia boys, right, that you know really well, how would that have been different than playing with me, who you know, and two guys who you barely know? How would the experience change, do you think?
So I think this is where the X card and the context there is so valuable. I think we probably would have pushed more personally developmental topics, so things that we know we directly care about in regards to our own personal stories or personal investment, and so we've been a little bit more tailored. But other than that, that's really just me knowing that my friend likes vanilla ice cream, so I'm gonna make a vanilla ice cream flavored story, right? That's really the only adjustment I see. Otherwise, we organically just showed that materially you can do it because we just did it. So it's that was exceptional. The design and the setup for this is incredible. I'm very excited to see when this breaks out of the zone, right? So it's very clear that this system could be organically applied to anything from a bank heist to a zombie apocalypse to Dinotopia to like whatever, dude. Like you just imagine this with the end scene is like you facing the final dinosaur in Jurassic Park, and it's like who's seeing the dino? Like what's the scene? Like this is infinite.
What's kind of cool is because I don't have the whole set. Obviously, I've only seen this twice, and like each of these settings were very, very different. And you can see on there, the X's that are on there. That's every time we did the not so easies, and we did
That's
scenes
great.
there, which I think is really neat. How about you, Robert? What would be different if it was let's say you like people you game with in person versus playing with the three of us?
I think the only difference is the familiarity we have with each other's storytelling styles. I think that something that I thought was pretty great was that Craig and I were the two to enter the forest, and I thought that was hilarious because Craig and I know each other. We role play pretty frequently with each other now, so we know a lot of each other's like tastes as storytellers, as GMs. I think there would be even more of that, give and take, just because I know my other players so well. And so I think that, I think it's two things, right? Is that with the players that I already know, I think that the comfort level to get weird and flow in between the scenes and direct one another would be even easier, despite the fact that with this group it was easy. I think some of that also is just the fact that it was the first time, right? And I think that the more you play this game, the more comfortable you get. And so I think just comfort in general, right? Comfort with your players will just enhance it because you know them so well. So probably the things that make them tick and go, oh, that's fucking metal, like Oliver did earlier, right? Like the more you know your group, the better experience you're going to have in any role-playing game. And I think that with this type of game, that'll go even further.
So I'm going to make a confession here. So like I did my part at the end, and I was kind of proud of it. Like I was like, oh, this is kind of cool with the flea and stuff like that. And then, passing the football to Dave, and like, part of me's like, Dave, don't fuck it up. And then like Dave's part, I'm like, oh shit, Dave, that's great. And then he passes the football to Oliver. I'm like, God, please don't fuck it up, because Dave and I, like, we sat at the table, like I cooked the meal. Don't fuck. And Oliver, you knocked it out of the fucking park.
Yeah, you did. You landed the airplane.
All of it.
That was just
all of it
perfect.
was predicated by the wish, right? And how good the wish was, and then the flashback. None of it would have happened without that phenomenal flashback. I mean,
did you like slow pitched in that, like you're like, here you go, boys.
That was pretty cool.
Cormac McCarthy like slow roll ending, like is just, that's like, I feel like it was very much like, I don't know if you guys have seen No Country for Old Men.
Oh God, yeah.
But it's like that was like the tone I had running in.
Very
like,
Coen Brothers ending.
How
about Dave? I'm trying to think of like the campsite, right? When you and I go camping, we get a huge array of people to play with from all spectrums, right? It's something that I love about camping. We have people that are very experienced gamers, some people that are new, some people that play a lot of RPGs, some that never play, politically and thought-wise and process-wise, very different. Do you think if you owned a copy of The Zone, can you imagine a situation where you wouldn't want to play this or avoid, like, this would be a bad idea?
Yeah. So I think because it came across me as such a shared experience, which all RPGs are, but like, because there's no codified rules as such, or very few, I think the capacity for bad actors, consciously or unconsciously, like, so if you had a fight earlier, right, like you get in a fight about, I don't know, something, and like, it calms down, it's fine, and then you get into this game together with like bad, like, I think that could be bad. And certainly if someone's actually trying to be a jackass, that ruins anything, right?
There's a social contract that has to be in place.
I will say too, like, I think this social contract in gaming, like we see this in miniature games a lot. I think it's developed significantly in the last like decade, and I think games like this, like The Zone or Burning Wheel or whatever else these, look at Apocalypse World. That game goes into some fucking dark places. You're getting these games that are being more willing to say, well, you know what? There's a social contract established. You're already not going to play with anyone who's a dick, so let's just like trust each other and see what that can really make with each other. And sometimes, yeah, you get the bad dice toss where someone just like super deviates a story into a direction no one wants to go, but like the social contract's there, so like that guy's never invited again. Easy.
Yeah. I also just think
it.
that it's easy enough to like if you steer off the road into some place that was like no, like a hard pass no. It's easy enough to just like call a timeout.
Yep.
Right,
And like pull it back, right? You'd be like, yeah, right. No, there were no terrible torture of whatever. Like,
right.
no,
right.
no,
right.
like that's not happening. And I think that, yeah, and like I think the level of dark or adventure or whatever, however you want to do it, like everyone just has to be willing to contribute to everyone having a good time, which is true of all RPGs. And I think it's just more on face for this game than in like you can't show up and play Adventure World with D&D guys, right, or whatever adventure series, right, where I've got the same character and it doesn't matter what my superpowers are, you know, like that style I don't think works. But if you're all willing to play, then you are.
I think it's a new series it's like a new stage of development in RPGs where like you know you're seeing GM-less RPGs developing significantly more. Like you're seeing RPGs that just okay, we've got a social contract. The rules are getting super light, and everyone's busy. They got shit they got to do. It's like I just want a cool cinematic experience for 2 hours, and this like slam dunks that.
And I
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Nope.
I was going to say that I think you're exactly right. That RPGs are moving more and more in the direction of focusing everything on narrative, everything from mechanics to rules. Yes, there's a place for stuff like D&D and anything else that's got like rules crunch. That stuff is fun. It tells a specific type of story. But collaborative storytelling and really realizing that that's the reason most people like role-playing games, and that is also the best way to bring new people into role-playing games is through saying it's really about the shared experiences. It's not about the dice. It's not about your character sheet. It's not about any of that stuff. It's about creating a character, creating a story, and having a good memory. Like, I'm going to tell people all about this fucking game and tell them to watch this, like, because the way it ended, the way like all of us like went through, it was fantastic.
Cool.
Like,
and everybody called
on my show when on my show, one of the questions we ask guests is we all have those like really awesome role-playing moments that you tell everybody about. You tell your friends, you tell people at conventions, you tell that's what this game is like perfect fodder for, right? And these styles of games is right, like creating those amazing stories with crazy characters. I mean, Dave, when you started doing the laughing, like phenomenal. Like that was the sort of thing that all of us were able to feed off of, right? And doing, doing like the kind of babbling and relating it back to everything that happened before. Like, I mean, I'm going to tell people, you want to play, somebody losing their mind, go and watch, Dave in this like episode of Third Floor Wars, because like, the way you gradually did it, it wasn't something, just all of a sudden. It was a gradual thing that called back and made sense. Yeah.
All right, guys. Go ahead, Oliver.
I was just gonna say, I feel like that handled a lot too, because our tonal like stuff, it went from like absurdist in a few scenes to like super deeply like intense to like standard horror. Like, and it handled all of it, stitched it all together, and still came with this ending that left it as like, was that purgatory? Was that heaven? Was that hell? Was it like a place to that? And it's like all those answers just depends on the audience. And I think that's just really neat. Yeah. But yeah, that's all I wanted to add.
I agree. All right, let's keep it short and sweet. Go ahead, Robert.
The one critique, the only thing that I will say is that I do think that the beginning of the game could be a little bit stronger. Because I do think that, our scenes when we're kind of like gathering before reaching the boundary and all that, we're a little bit weaker, whether it's like more information on like motivation of like how, have we met each other? Usually a mission like this is going to have some preparation. Think back to all these source materials and that sort of thing. So having some kind of more prompt for being able to have that, so that it doesn't feel as clunky. And that may be just because some of us hadn't played this before, hadn't met each other before. That's the only thing, because everything as we got went along, it got stronger and stronger
I
and
agree.
stronger.
So
I
here's,
think once
here's
we
my
understood
here's
the
my take on that,
directorial
Robert.
role-
Some kind of like
Here's my take on that,
Okay.
Robert. Is I think something that should be considered in the next version of this, because I agree with you, is explicitly giving more permission to create the world right from the very beginning. So maybe a prompt that says, who in the party knew each other before the zone? You know, prompts like those that make it very clear that we don't have a backstory. Nothing happened before. We're here now, and when we say it, the truth's at the table. So maybe some prompts that gives us a little permission from the beginning. The only other thing that I wish, now that I've done this twice, is I would love it if Raph put in the ability for us to skip some of it, right? Which you can as you're going, right? But I would, you know, and I'm going to go through all the steps every time I do this because it could be somebody watching it for the first time. But, you know, if I were playing this, if the four of us said, hey, shit, let's do this again tomorrow, right? Like, it would be nice if there was a way to speed up and go right to things.
Straight to the boundary.
Yeah, and use the buttons right from the very beginning. But that's not the purpose of this, right? The purpose of this is to introduce people to the game, and the purpose is to get everybody ready for the physical product. All right,
in the physical, you could do that too.
I agree. Yeah. All right, so let's keep things real short and sweet because we're running long. Robert, real quick plugs.
Yeah, I've got a podcast called Game Store Dropouts. Our latest episode dropped yesterday. It's every 2 weeks on Mondays. Myself and my co-host Pat Gibbs and Evan Bates talk about board games, role-playing games, a lot of role-playing games. We have guests on. We just give opinions. Sometimes a lot of the time is GM and player advice, things like that. Our latest episode features John Gamel and Mark Reinhagen, the legendary creator of World of Darkness, talking about the new series and settings of games that they are creating called Lost Lorn. The latest episode is amazing. Lots of excellent stuff about world building, especially from Mark, and some really interesting stories about the past, especially with World of Darkness. So check it out, become a patron, and you can hear Mark tell an amazing story about the onset of Vampire the Masquerade in our additional features when you become a patron. So, and also plug Third Floor Wars and become a patron there, because that's how you get great content like this.
I appreciate it, Robert. Oliver, real quick, any plug shout outs?
Yeah, so I'm actually writing my own RPG that's a GM-less game. It's like an OSR style narrative experience in the spiritual path of Burning Wheel, Dungeon World, and other games like that. If you'd like to know more, I have a Twitter page that I just set up today, so it's going to be fairly bare bones, but it is crisis_TTRPG or tabletop RPG. So the game is called The Crisis. But yeah, it's character driven, and that's my main focus right now. So if you have any questions or anything, you can just shoot me a DM. I'm still in light development.
Beautiful. How about you, Dave? Any shout outs?
No, give Craig your money. Have fun being nerds.
Here.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I appreciate
your money. Hypnotoad.
So obviously, if you're watching this on Twitch, give me a real quick follow. I would appreciate it. We've got a ton of great content coming here on Twitch. Sunday, the 11th of July, we've got our Good Scum in the Villainy, our next episode 14 of the Good Scum in the Villainy. We're getting at the tail end of this adventure that we're on. It's a published adventure that we've done. We've torn to pieces and rebuilt as we've played it. So that'll be at 2:00 Eastern on Sunday the 11th, and then something that has been really popular, 8:00 Thursday, the 15th of July, is our Forbidden Stream. It's going to be our 5th episode of it. It has instantly become one of the most popular games that we've played here on the channel. People are really digging it. So the 5th episode, if you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe for me so that you can keep track of it. All of the previous episodes of not only Good Scum and the Villainy are here on YouTube, but the Forbidden Stream is on there for Forbidden Lands. And then, of course, you can see Robert play a Mandalorian on Fistful of Credits, as we're planning to do our session 3 of that very, very soon. These guys mentioned it. You can support us on Patreon if you're really digging this. Last but not least, the flagship which is the Tabletop Talk podcast, which is how Third Floor Wars started. We cover tabletop games, but right now we've been focusing a lot on two things. Malifaux by Weird Games. So if you're a fan of what I think is the best miniature game out there right now, and it's by Weird Games, Malifaux, which is how really I know all three of these guys. And then two, we've been doing a lot talking to designers and creators, people in the industry that are making these games. It's how I came across this game. I interviewed Raph for the show. That episode is not out yet, but it will be. So if you dig like the guts of this and the origin stories and how this is all put together, that Insider Insight series on Tabletop Talk, it's on all your favorite podcatchers. Gentlemen, I appreciate it. I've been looking forward to this, and it didn't disappoint.
That was a blast. Thanks.
Thank you. This was awesome.
Thanks for having
Thanks
us.
to all of you.
Yeah,
Great
Yeah,
jamming.
absolutely.
That was
Great
cool.
jamming, great playing.
Yeah, I agree. For those of you that stuck around to the end, I appreciate you too. Thanks for watching. Take care.